हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट कंटिन्यू करने वाला हूं। तो बिना किसी देरी के चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं।
Chapter 136, Hunting in the Core Zone, a 5,000-year phantom gale leopard. Ordinarily, this was an absolute forbidden zone. Only powerful experts or nobles holding a token issued by Emperor Shui could enter. Douluo walked with his hands behind his back, strolling leisurely through the jungle filled with a primitive aura. The spirit beasts around that attempted to approach were all terrified by the faint pressure of a tidal Douluo emanating from him, shivering and scattering in all directions. He turned his head and looked at Ningrongrong. There's a wide variety of spirit beast species in this core zone. Although they aren't as wild and unrestrained as those in the Sunset Forest or the Stardew Great Forest, they have the advantage of pure bloodlines and high safety. Regarding your second soul ring, have you thought about what type of spirit beast you want to hunt? Ningrongrong nodded and said, Grandpa Douluo, I already thought about it before we set out. According to the legacy of our 7 treasure glazed tile school, the second spirit ability is a speed boost. Hearing this, Douluo nodded slightly in agreement. Since you've decided on the speed type, do you have a target in mind? There are many agility attack system spirit beasts in this forest. Wind chime birds, ghost tigers, lightning sables, they are all good choices. Ningrongrong smiled. Any agility attack type spirit beast will do. In any case, the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda spirit is quite special. It doesn't have very strict requirements for the spirit beast's bloodline or species. As long as it's an agility attack type and its age is sufficient, it can grant my spirit the fixed spirit ability of speed boost. It was exactly as Ningrongrong said. The reason the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda was known as the support spirit with the strongest versatility was because its spirit ability effects were extremely stable. As long as she obtained her second soul ring. Whether the spirit beast was a fast-running leopard or a fast-flying bird, the final effect would be the same, providing teammates with a speed boost based on a percentage of her own spirit power. This shared a similar wonder with Yiling's 9-heart begonia spirit. The 9-heart begonia was even more extreme. No matter what spirit ring was absorbed, there was only ever one spirit ability, area of effect group healing. The number and age of the spirit rings only allowed her to have more spirit power reserves and stronger healing effects. Therefore, for top-tier support spirits like theirs, they often prioritize the age when obtaining spirit rings, without needing to obsess over the rarity of the spirit beast. Of course, this was just the traditional view from before. Lin Yuan listened from the side, but he had different plans in mind. Now that Yilingling had absorbed the medicinal pill refined from the 9 nether soul returning grass, her 9-heart begonia spirit had undergone a fundamental transformation, and the curse was broken. Perhaps in the future, her spirit's development direction wouldn't have to be limited to simple group healing. Although the 9-heart begonia's healing ability was fearless, there was still room to explore in areas like single-target emergency treatment and life force restoration at higher levels. Moreover, since Lin Yuan was here now, the spirit rings Yilingling absorbed in the future should naturally get as close as possible to top-tier life attributes. Although the spirit's characteristics meant there were no absorption restrictions. However, the more a spirit beast's spirit ring aligned with the 9-heart begonia's life origin attribute, the greater the help to the spirit's potential evolution would undoubtedly be. But for now, the urgent priority was to first resolve the issue of Ningrongrong's second soul ring. In the following days, led by Douluo, the group began a carpet search in the core area. Finding a spirit beast that was around 5,000 years old and had to be of the agility attack system was not an easy task. Although there were many spirit beasts here, most did not meet the requirements. Either the age was too low, only 1 or 2,000 years, which didn't match Ningrongrong's current physique. Or the age was suitable, but it wasn't of the agility attack type. This search lasted for a full 10 days. Roar. Just as everyone was feeling a bit exhausted. In a dense forest ahead, a low and rapid roar suddenly rang out. Immediately after, a cyan afterimage darted rapidly between the tree trunks, its speed so fast it was staggering. Found it, it's a phantom gale leopard. Douluo's eyes lit up, and he raised his hand to signal everyone to stop. Judging by its size and the patterns on its body, its cultivation is around 5,200 years. It matches your requirements perfectly. Hearing this, Ningrongrong's spirits lifted instantly, and she poked her head out from behind Lin Yuan. The phantom gale leopard was over 3 meters long, with a streamlined body and tight muscles full of explosive power. It was staring warily at the group, its foreclaws slightly bent, ready to launch an attack or flee at any moment. That's the one. Ningrongrong waved her small fist excitedly. Everyone, help me take it down. No problem. Lin Yuan, Xiao Wu, and Du Guyan exchanged glances and instantly entered a combat state. Although they were facing a 5,000-year spirit beast, equivalent to a human spirit ancestor level combatant, the 3 of them were not weak. Action. Following Lin Yuan's command. 9 treasures turn, glazed tile emerges. In the rear, Ningrongrong immediately summoned the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. First verse, strength. 3 colored lights landed accurately on Lin Yuan, Xiao Wu, and Du Guyan. A 20% strength boost. Second spirit ability, charm. Xiao Wu took the lead, her eyes instantly turning an eerie pink as 2 mental fluctuations shot directly into the phantom gale leopard's eyes. The leopard, which had been preparing to use its speed advantage to maneuver, suddenly froze, a moment of daze appearing in its eyes. Although Xiao Wu was only a spirit grandmaster now, her mental force realm was extraordinary, and the age of her second soul ring was over 5,000 years. Controlling this leopard was simply effortless. This moment of stiffness was fatal. First spirit ability, waist bow. Her slender legs instantly exerted force, drawing a sharp arc in the air. This time, she didn't use her battle armor, relying solely on the power of her physical body and the explosion of her soft technique. Bang. A heavy and powerful, shadowless kick, slammed fiercely into the back of the phantom gale leopard's neck. Oh woo. The phantom gale leopard let out a cry of pain, its massive body stumbling from the kick, nearly collapsing to the ground. But after all, it was a 5,000-year top predator. The intense pain snapped it back to its senses instantly. It roared, its whole body glowing with cyan light as it turned into a whirlwind, attempting to counterattack Xiao Wu. Want to hurt her? Have you asked me first? A cold voice rang out. Spirit possession. Third spirit ability, Jade Phosphor Dragon Tail Whip. The Jade Phosphor Serpent Phantom behind Du Guyan roared, and that massive snake tail, several meters long, lashed out fiercely toward the phantom gale leopard with a whistle that tore through the air. This strike not only possessed terrifying power but also carried the corrosive effect of the Serpent Emperor's poison. Crack. With a crisp yet heavy explosion, the phantom gale leopard's body, which was just about to jump, was struck midair by the giant snake tail. P.S. Requesting recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, favorites, and follows tilde tilde. Chapter 137, Initial List for Heaven Do Team 1, Exchange Match with Blue Tyrant Academy. Its massive body flew back over 10 meters, heavily smashing into and snapping a large tree. Roar. The phantom gale leopard let out a mournful cry, its waist was already deformed from the impact, and black toxic gas was rapidly spreading at the wound. It struggled to get up, its eyes filled with terror. However, a black figure was already standing before it. Lin Yuan held his spear in one hand, his expression cold and indifferent. It's over. Lin Yuan flicked his wrist, and the god-slaying spear shot out like a flood dragon emerging from the sea. The spear's radiance split into four, piercing the phantom gale leopard's four legs with incomparable precision, pinning it firmly to the ground. Rongrong, do it. Lin Yuan turned back and said calmly. Ning Rongrong took a deep breath and pulled out a sharp dagger from her thigh. She stepped forward quickly, looking at the spirit beast that had lost its ability to resist. A flicker of pity flashed in her eyes, but it soon turned into determination. In this world where the strong prey on the weak, if one wants to survive, they must learn to kill. Poochie. Under Lin Yuan's control, the dagger was precisely thrust into the phantom gale leopard's vital throat. Blood splattered. The phantom gale leopard's body twitched violently a few times before finally becoming still. A moment later, a deep purple spirit ring slowly emerged. Phew. Ning Rongrong pulled out the dagger and sat on the ground, somewhat drained, panting heavily. Even though she wasn't the one fighting on the front lines, this was still a huge psychological test for a support system spirit master. Quick, absorb it while it's fresh. Douluo reminded her from the side. Ning Rongrong nodded and, without further hesitation, sat cross-legged beside the spirit beast's corpse and began to guide the purple spirit ring. The purple light entered her body. Ning Rongrong's brow furrowed slightly. Clearly, a spirit ring of over 5,000 years carried significant impact. But thanks to the previous whale blue body tempering, her body and meridians were already incredibly tough. After only a moment of fluctuation, her aura stabilized. Time passed minute by minute. For a day and a night, everyone stayed by Ning Rongrong's side, never leaving, acting as her protector. Finally, as the morning sun rose on the second day and the first ray of sunlight fell upon Ning Rongrong. Boom. A powerful wave of spirit power erupted from Ning Rongrong's body. Beneath her feet, two spirit rings slowly rose. The first was yellow. The second was deep purple. Rank 27. Feeling the spirit power surging like a sea within her, Ning Rongrong jumped up in excitement. I succeeded. Not only did I absorb a 5,000-year spirit ring, but my spirit power also jumped 7 ranks. From rank 20, I leapt straight to rank 27. Moreover, because the second soul ring is a 1,000-year one, the spirit power I consume using my second spirit ability is much less than the first spirit ability. She was different from other spirit masters. For other spirit masters, whether it was a 100-year, 1,000-year, or 10,000-year ring, the spirit power consumption wouldn't be low, the difference only lay in the power of the spirit ability. However, the 9th 7th treasure glazed tile pagoda spirit was different because its amplification ratio was fixed. For Ning Rongrong, whether the second soul ring was a 100-year, 1,000-year, or even 10,000-year one, her spirit grandmaster amplification ratio was exactly 30%, this would definitely not change. This resulted in the fact that the higher the age of the spirit ring, the lower the spirit power required for her to activate the spirit ability. Watching this scene, Douluo couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Tisk tisk tisk, a 5,000-year second soul ring, this is simply inconceivable. Then, the smile on Douluo's face vanished, becoming more serious than ever. Lin Yuan, the effect of your body tempering pill is truly too heaven-defying. This thing must absolutely not be leaked. Otherwise, the spirit master system of this continent will be overturned, the world might truly change. At that time, even Spirit Hall would stop at nothing to snatch the formula. Hearing this, Lin Yuan laughed. Don't worry, only I know the formula for this thing. Besides, I have my master. Even if others have designs, even if a titled Douluo comes in person, I will make sure they never return. ... Several days had passed since Ning Rongrong broke through to rank 27. This little witch, who could never keep a secret, had impatiently asked for leave from the academy the day after her breakthrough, saying she wanted to return to her sect to give her father and 2 grandfathers a huge surprise. This morning, in the classroom, their homeroom teacher was also a veteran teacher at the Spirit Emperor level, named Sun Buyu. He stood on the podium and announced something with a serious expression. Everyone, quiet down. Per the Academy's notice, next week we will hold a friendly exchange match with the Blue Tyrant Academy in the city. This exchange match will be personally led by the Dean of Blue Tyrant Academy, Lu Erlong. As soon as these words were spoken, a commotion broke out below. Blue Tyrant Academy, that academy that only accepts commoners. Tisk, what's there to exchange with that kind of academy? We are the Royal Academy. Exactly, the grade is completely different. Isn't this lowering our status? Many students from noble backgrounds showed expressions of disdain. Sun Buyu ignored these discussions and continued, to show respect and to test everyone's cultivation results. The Academy has decided that the roster for this exchange match will serve as the preliminary selection for the future Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament, Heaven Do Team 1. This sentence instantly set the scene ablaze. The Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament. That was the highest stage for young spirit masters on the entire continent. It was a glory that countless people dreamed of. Everyone's eyes instantly became burning with passion. Sun Buyu took out a list and said in a deep voice, after discussion by the committee, the preliminary main roster is as follows. Captain, Lin Yuan. Vice Captain, Du Guyan. Members, Xiao Wu, Yu Tianeng, Oslo, Shimo, Yi Lingling. Totaling 7 people. Hearing this list, the classroom instantly exploded. In particular, Yu Feng, who was not selected, stood up directly with a face full of dissatisfaction. Teacher. I don't accept this. Why was I not selected for the main roster? To deal with those commoners from Blue Tyrant Academy, why do Lin Yuan and Sister Yan Yan need to play? I could beat them all down by myself. Yu Feng possessed the Wind Chime Bird spirit and was of the agility attack system. He had always been arrogant. In his view, what kind of powerful students could a place with few resources like Blue Tyrant Academy produce? Why use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? Wouldn't it be enough to let him go and crush them? Sun Buyu glanced at Yu Feng and said in a steady tone, regardless of the strength of the Blue Tyrant Academy students for now, I just said that the one leading them is their dean, Lu Erlong. Do you know which family Lu Erlong comes from? She is a direct member of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. The committee member's meaning is very clear. Since their dean is coming in person, we must give them enough face and send out our strongest lineup. Quote. Chapter 138, The Shock of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School. Requesting follows. This is also a form of respect for the opponent. Pausing for a moment, Sun Buyu continued, additionally, this roster is only preliminary. Besides these 7 regular members, the Academy has also specially authorized 3 substitute slots. Student Ning Rongrong has already secured one due to the uniqueness of her support abilities. Therefore, there are 2 substitute seats remaining. If you feel you have the strength, you can challenge the regular members, except for the 2 fixed support members, Yilingling and Ning Rongrong. Whoever wins, gets the spot. What? Yu Feng turned pale with shock, his expression instantly becoming unsightly. The members of Team 1 were decided so quickly. Doesn't that mean the rest of us can only fight for those 2 substitute seats? The atmosphere in the classroom instantly became tense. Everyone's gaze scanned back and forth across the regular members. Lin Yuan, Du Guyan, and Yu Tianeng were the recognized big 3, even with 10 times the courage, no one would dare challenge them. Especially Lin Yuan, the tragic sight of him instantly killing Yu Tianeng with a single spear thrust that day was still vivid in their minds. Who would be tired of living and go looking for trouble? Thus, in an instant, most people's gazes focused on the remaining 3, Xiao Wu, Oslo, and Shimo. Especially the seemingly weak Xiao Wu, who became a soft persimmon in everyone's eyes. After all, Oslo and Shimo were veteran powerhouses in the class, excelling in agility, attack, and defense respectively. Although Xiao Wu also had innate full spirit power, she looked like just a cute little girl, and she usually followed behind Lin Yuan, rarely taking action. Hee. Feeling the ill-intentioned gazes around them, Lin Yuan couldn't help but whisper to Xiao Wu beside him with a smile, it seems everyone sees you as the breakthrough point. Hearing this, Xiao Wu's tender little face was full of defiance, HMPH. These blind fools, then let them come and try. Inside the magnificent and grand council hall of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Ning Fengji, dressed in an elegant white robe, sat in the main seat, chatting with Chen Qin and Ji Yurong beside him. Just then, a brisk sound of footsteps came from outside the hall. Father, Grandpa Sword, Grandpa Ji Yu. I'm back to see you tilde. Her voice arrived before she did. Then, a graceful green figure rushed into the hall like a young swallow returning to its nest. It was Ning Rongrong, who had rushed back from the academy. Ning Fengji put down his teacup, a doting smile appearing on his face. He stood up and opened his arms, wanting to hug his precious daughter as usual. Rongrong, why did you return so suddenly? The academy hasn't gone on break yet, right? Are you homesick? Or is there some happy news you want to share with your father? However, just as Ning Fengji's hand was about to touch Ning Rongrong. Hee. A green light suddenly flashed under Ning Rongrong's feet, and her body, like a butterfly flitting through flowers, bypassed Ning Fengji's embrace at an extremely clever angle. Wind Spirit Steps. This was a cultivation technique she had obtained from the system, although she had only reached the entry level, it was already stunning enough. Father, guess tilde. Ning Rongrong turned around and made a cute face at Ning Fengji, who had come up empty. Then she skipped over to Chen Qin and Ji Yurong, giving each of them a big hug. Grandpa Sword, Grandpa Ji Yu, I missed you so much. Being hugged like this, Chen Qin and Ji Yurong's hearts almost melted. But at the same time, a hint of surprise flashed through the hearts of the 3 powerhouses. Such speed. Such sharp reactions. In that moment just now, the spirit power fluctuations that erupted from Ning Rongrong, though fleeting, definitely did not escape their perception. Chen Qin and Ji Yurong exchanged a glance, a sharp light flashing in their eyes. Ji Yurong sent a secret message, Old Swordman, did you feel it? The spirit power fluctuations of this girl Rongrong seem a bit unusual. This speed and reaction ability are something even a spirit grandmaster couldn't achieve. Chen Qin nodded slightly, a hint of gratification flashing in his eyes. It seems this girl Rongrong also has secrets we don't know about. I wonder if it's also related to Lin Yuan. Her spirit power might have already broken through to the spirit grandmaster level. Although Ning Fengji had been teased by his daughter, he wasn't annoyed, instead, he laughed even more happily. He withdrew his hand and shook his head helplessly. You girl, you're getting more and more mischievous. Then let me guess, is it related to that little fellow Lin Yuan? Or is it that you've made a breakthrough in your cultivation? Ning Rongrong gave a proud huff, her hands on her hips, looking arrogant. HMPH, no fun, how did father guess it so quickly? There's no sense of surprise at all. However, she quickly adjusted her emotions, a mysterious smile appearing on her face. Since father guessed it, then I won't keep you in suspense. But Ning Rongrong stepped back a few paces. Father, Grandpa Sword, Grandpa Ji Yu, don't be scared. All right, we're sitting steady. How could you possibly scare us, little girl? How old were the 3 of them, and how broad was their vision? How could they possibly be scared by Ning Rongrong? However, in the next second, their smiles froze on their faces. 7 treasures turned, producing the glazed tile. With Ning Rongrong's clear shout, a crystal clear pagoda slowly appeared in her palm. Along with the appearance of the pagoda, 2 spirit rings rose from beneath Ning Rongrong's feet. The first one was yellow, a 100-year spirit ring. This was normal. But the second one was purple. 1,000-year spirit ring. What? 1,000-year second ring. Ning Fengji, Chen Qin, and Ji Yurong almost stood up at the same time, their eyes wide. In the iron law of the spirit master's world, it was almost impossible for the second soul ring to be a 1,000-year one. As far as they currently knew, those with a 1,000-year second soul ring, besides Bibi Dong, were only Lin Yuan. Those like Qian Daliu who had been boosted didn't count. And looking at the depth of the purple color, this was definitely not one that had just barely reached 1,000 years. With Ning Rongrong's weak physique as a support system spirit master, how could she possibly absorb such a high-age spirit ring? This simply defied common sense. However, before they could recover from this shock, an even more terrifying scene appeared. 9 layers, 9 colors, 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. As Ning Rongrong's voice fell, the 3 of them subconsciously looked at the spirit in her hand. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. That pagoda, which originally only had 7 layers, actually had 2 more layers now. A full 9 layers. That was the legendary 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda, which only existed in the records of the sect's ancient texts. The cane in Ning Fengji's hand fell to the ground, but he didn't care at all. His hands trembling, he walked toward Ning Rongrong step by step, his voice hoarse. Rongrong, your spirit, how did it evolve into the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda? Chapter 139, Why not let younger sister go to the Heaven Do Empire? Rongrong, you. Ning Fengji's voice trembled uncontrollably as he reached out his hands and carefully placed them on Ning Rongrong's shoulders. Is this really the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda? You really did it. Beside him, Sword Douluo Chenshin and Bone Douluo Ji Yurong also had faces full of disbelief. Rongrong, tell Grandpa quickly, how exactly did you achieve this spirit evolution? Was it that kid Lin Yuan who helped you? Ning Fengji took a deep breath, forcing down the overwhelming shock in his heart, and asked with burning eyes. Looking at the shocked expressions of the three, Ning Rongrong couldn't have been more smug. She smiled sweetly and nodded. Yes, Dad. It was brother Lin Yuan who helped me. Subsequently, Ning Rongrong vividly recounted how Lin Yuan had obtained immortal herbs and meticulously refined medicinal pills for them. Of course, she was smart enough to skip over the ambiguous, kiss reward, and the specific details of the whale glue. A moment later, after hearing their daughter's account, Ning Fengji and the other two looked at each other, the shock in their hearts unable to subside for a long time. Hiss. Ji Yurong took a sharp breath, refining medicinal pills from immortal herbs. It can even transform someone and evolve their spirit. Could there be any side effects? One must not do things like pulling seedlings to help them grow. Ji Yurong quickly placed his hand on Ning Rongrong's wrist and investigated with his spirit power. Chen Shin's reaction was different, a sharp light flashing in his eyes. It seems that the master behind Lin Yuan is not only a super Douluo but also a formidable alchemist. No wonder that kid's spirit ring configuration can reach the shocking level of black-purple-black. Naturally, they attributed all the credit to the so-called His Excellency Zhao Yun behind Lin Yuan. After all, how could an 8-year-old child understand such profound alchemy and pharmacological knowledge? There must be someone guiding him behind the scenes. Wrong. Ning Fengji calmed his emotions, his eyes carrying a hint of expectation. Then, can you help Dad ask Lin Yuan? Does he still have any more of those medicinal pills? Even just one would be fine. No matter what the price, or even if he wants to pick anything from the sect's treasury, as long as he is willing to give it. Ning Fengji desired it too much. The defect of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda only being able to cultivate to level 79 was the pain of his life. If he could obtain such a medicinal pill. However, Ning Rongrong shook her head helplessly, shattering his fantasy. Dad, I already asked for you. Ning Rongrong sighed with a face full of regret, but brother Lin Yuan said that producing this kind of medicinal pill requires a specific immortal herb called Kiluo tulip as the primary ingredient. That kind of immortal herb is extremely rare, a spiritual treasure of heaven and earth. He only encountered one when he went out this time. So, hearing this, the light in Ning Fengji's eyes instantly dimmed. Only one. True, how could such a heaven-defying object that changes fate be mass-produced? Sigh. Although disappointed, Ning Fengji didn't say anything. After all, for his daughter to obtain this opportunity was already a massive blessing for the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Forget it. Ning Fengji pulled himself together and patted Ning Rongrong's shoulder. Your spirit being able to evolve is the best news. ... Meanwhile. Heaven-Do City, Heaven-Do Royal Academy. Today was a special day. The exchange match between Blue Tyrant Academy and Heaven-Do Royal Academy was to be held in a large, enclosed arena within the academy. To preserve Blue Tyrant Academy's face and to avoid causing an unnecessary sensation, no audience was arranged for this exchange match. It was practically conducted in secret. Inside the arena, the atmosphere was somewhat subtle. Lin Yuan, leading Du Guyan, Xiao Wu, and the others waited in the center of the field early on. Before long, a group of people emerged from the tunnel entrance. Leading them was a woman with a fiery figure. It was the dean of Blue Tyrant Academy, Lu Erlong. Behind her followed several students who looked a bit nervous. Among them were a few familiar faces Lin Yuan recognized from the original work. That muscular, somewhat simple-looking man was Tai Long of the Strength Clan. The gloomy and thin youth beside him was Jing Ling. And a gentle young girl, who should be Zhongzhu. Dean Lu, I hope you have been well. Sun Buyu went up to greet her with a smile. Although they belonged to different academies, one doesn't hit a smiling face, not to mention the person before him had the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan behind her. Lu Erlong exchanged brief pleasantries, her beautiful eyes starting to scan the members of the Heaven Do team. Finally, her gaze fixed firmly on the young boy. Lin Yuan. He truly was very handsome. Lin Yuan felt Lu Erlong's burning gaze and couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Isn't this intention a bit too obvious? It was practically as if the words, quickly write about me, were carved on her face. Lu Erlong personally leading the team here for an exchange match was actually a case of having an ulterior motive. She just wanted to use this match to make her presence known in front of Lin Yuan, so that he would mention her more in his diary, thereby obtaining system rewards. At this moment, in the chat group that only the girls could see, things had become lively because of Lu Erlong's arrival. Bunny who loves Tonghulu, tisk, and Erlong, you're really going all out, aren't you? Bunny who loves Tonghulu, this intention to get diary rewards is practically known to everyone. I want to live past 30, exactly. Dean Lu, aren't you afraid our Heaven-Do Royal Academy will beat your people to a pulp and make your Blue Tyrant Academy lose face in public? Queen of the Dark Knight, HMPH, Lu Erlong, you're too cunning. I also want the Star Luo team to go and fight the Heaven-Do team so that I have a chance to see Lin Yuan. Irritable Pig Farmer, Che, what do you all know? Opportunities must always be fought for by oneself. Irritable Pig Farmer, as for winning or losing, what does that matter? As long as Lin Yuan can remember me, it's fine. Irritable Pig Farmer, didn't you see that there's no audience for this exchange match? As long as there's no audience, then it's not embarrassing. The girls, what a shameless person. Star Luo Empire, Star Luo Royal Academy. Zhu Zuyun looked at the transparent diary in front of her, a hint of helplessness and anxiety flashing in her beautiful eyes. She and her younger sister Zhu Zuqing were in Star Luo, while Lin Yuan was in the distant Heaven-Do. The two places were separated by thousands of miles. Trying to increase the number of mentions in the diary was simply too difficult. Exchange match. That is a good way, but the relationship between Star Luo and Heaven-Do is delicate, making it hard to happen in the short term. Zhu Zuyun sighed, her gaze becoming somewhat deep. Soon, she thought of another problem. She had already enrolled in Star Luo Royal Academy, but her younger sister hadn't yet. Chapter 140, Xiao Wu's strength, Tai Long kicked like a ball. This time, due to the diary rewards, Zhu Zuqing's innate spirit power was not level 7, but level 10. And this definitely touched Dai Wuxi's sensitive nerves. One must know that Dai Mubai's innate spirit power was only slightly higher than Dai Wuxi's, yet he was already seen as a thorn in his side and beaten half to death. With Zuqing having innate full spirit power, Dai Wuxi must have already developed a murderous intent. Zhu Zuyun clenched her fists. No, I can't let Zhu Jing stay in Star Luo any longer. Only by letting her go to Heaven Do Royal Academy, to Lin Yuan's side, will she truly be safe. Only then will she be free from endless assassinations. But Zhu Zuyun hesitated again. Zhu Jing was not even 7 years old yet. Letting her live alone in the unfamiliar Heaven Do Empire was something she, as an older sister, really couldn't bear. Even though she knew Zhu Jing had the transfer talisman, rewarded by the system, which could instantly teleport her a great distance to save her life. But that kind of loneliness and helplessness. Sigh, there's no use thinking too much. I still need to find an opportunity to ask Zhu Jing for her own opinion. If she is willing to go, then no matter what, I will create an opportunity for her. Sun Buyu and Lu Erlong briefly discussed the match rules. Then let's do one-on-one, Lu Erlong said indifferently. In a team battle, the students she brought would have no chance at all. Alright. Sun Buyu nodded and turned to look at Lin Yuan and the others. On Blue Tyrant Academy's side, the first person Lu Erlong sent out was that gorilla-like burly man, Tai Long. Tai Long, you go first. Lu Erlong patted Tai Long's broad shoulder. Don't be nervous, just do your best. Show them the strength of our Blue Tyrant Academy. Tai Long grinned, thumping his chest with a dull, thud sound, and strode to the center of the field. On the Heaven Do team side, Lin Yuan thought for a moment and looked at Xiao Wu, who was eager to try beside him. Xiao Wu, you take this round. The person the opponent sent out is most likely just a power-type spirit grandmaster. Although he looks big, he definitely won't be your match. Lin Yuan lowered his voice and instructed. Be as gentle as possible. After all, it's an exchange match. Xiao Wu nodded and smiled. Don't worry, Jay, I'll show mercy. On the arena stage, the two stood a distance apart. Tai Long spoke first, his voice muffled and thick. Tai Long, Spirit, Vigor Ape, Level 27 Attack System Spirit Grandmaster. Please advise. After speaking, he looked at the little girl in front of him who wasn't even as tall as his chest, frowning with slight dissatisfaction. Hey, I say, is your Heaven Do team looking down on me? Why did you send such a little girl out? If I accidentally make you cry later, people will say I'm bullying the weak. Hearing this, Xiao Wu's originally friendly face instantly turned cold. She chuckled and put her hands on her hips. What's wrong, big guy, do you think you can win against me? Xiao Wu could clearly feel herself being looked down upon, and she thought to herself that she must teach him a lesson during the match later. Xiao Wu, Spirit, Soft Bones Rabbit, Level 27 Attack System Spirit Grandmaster. Please advise. What? Tai Long was startled, staring at Xiao Wu with wide eyes. You're at level 27, how old are you even? Before Tai Long could process this shock, Sun Buyu, acting as the referee, had already retreated to the edge of the stage and announced, match start. Vigor Ape, possession. Tai Long didn't dare to be careless and instantly completed his spirit possession. His body expanded another size, muscles bulging all over, and 2 yellow spirit rings rose from beneath his feet. On the opposite side, 2 spirit rings also rose from beneath Xiao Wu. The first one was yellow, 100-year. The second one was actually purple. 1,000-year spirit ring. Holy crap. Tai Long's eyes nearly popped out, and he froze on the spot. Not only was he shocked, but everyone present except for Lin Yuan, Du Guyan, and Yi Lingling, who already knew. Everyone else was bewildered, even terrified. The second soul ring is 1,000-year one. How is this possible? Blue Tyrant Academy's preparation area. The gentle healing system spirit master, Zhang Zhu, was no longer calm either. She looked at Lu Erlong beside her in confusion and asked, Dean, why is this person's second soul ring 1,000-year one? How did she do it? Lu Erlong's pupils also constricted as she stared at the spirit ring under Xiao Wu's feet. She shook her head, her tone solemn. This, I'm not sure either. But in her heart, she had another guess. Could it be that the system helped Xiao Wu increase the age of her second soul ring? Other than this method, I can't think of any other possibility. And on the arena stage, Xiao Wu didn't care how shocked others were. While Tai Long was still dazed, she moved. Second spirit ability, charm. Although Tai Long was physically strong, his mental force was clearly a weak point. Under this sudden mental impact, his eyes instantly became glazed, his body stiffened, and he completely lost his defense. Xiao Wu appeared in front of Tai Long with extreme speed and unleashed a triple strike shadowless kick. Leveraging the flexibility from her waist bow, Xiao Wu's legs turned into countless afterimages, kicking Tai Long's broad chest like a violent storm. Tai Long was actually kicked flying by Xiao Wu. This could have been a one-hit kill, but because of Tai Long's initial contemptuous attitude, Xiao Wu was very unhappy. So she kicked a few more times. Bang! Tai Long's massive body crashed heavily onto the floor below the stage, kicking up a cloud of dust. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted directly. Sun Buyu was also somewhat surprised by Xiao Wu's strength. This was actually the first time he had seen Xiao Wu truly take action. He had originally thought that among the 7 regular members of the Heaven Do team, Xiao Wu's strength would be weaker than Yu Tianeng's. After all, it was just a soft bones rabbit spirit. But from the current situation, Yu Tianeng might not necessarily be Xiao Wu's match. It was mainly because Xiao Wu's second spirit ability was too unique. It was actually a strong control skill like charm. This kind of spirit ability relied on mental force. As long as Xiao Wu's mental force was high enough, she could firmly control her opponent and then take them down with a series of combos. At this time, sitting in the preparation area, Yu Tianeng's expression turned somewhat ugly as he watched this scene. A strong sense of urgency also rose in his heart. Damn it, how can Lin Yuan's sister be so strong too? In this team now, he was already no match for Lin Yuan and Du Guyan. Originally being ranked 3rd had already made him, the heir of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, very unhappy, his pride taking a hit. But now he discovered that this Xiao Wu didn't seem to be any weaker than him, and might even be stronger. How could he accept this? P.S. Brothers, please don't stop reading, don't let the chapters pile up tilde. Chapter 141, The Shameless Strength Clan, requesting follow-up reads. In the subsequent matches, the Heaven Do team did not send out a second person. Next, she systematically defeated the remaining members of Blue Tyrant Academy who stepped onto the stage, including Jingling and Huang Yuan. This so-called exchange match ended in a manner that was both somewhat comical and quite shocking. To save Lu Erlong some face, Sun Buyu stepped forward and asked. Dean Erlong, regarding the match, should we end it here? Or would you like to have a team battle? The academy has also prepared a banquet for everyone. How about we go eat first? Lu Erlong looked at her dejected students and shook her head helplessly, continuing would only lead to further humiliation. Let's leave it at that. Lu Erlong sighed, her tone tinged with complexity. The truth is, I brought them here for this exchange match just to let them see the world. To let them know there's always someone better out there, and to motivate them. I just didn't expect the strength of this year's students at Heaven Do Royal Academy to be so formidable. Especially that little girl, her second soul ring is actually 1,000-year one. I wonder how your academy achieved that. Hearing this, Sun Buyu also gave a bitter smile. To be honest, I don't know either. As Sun Buyu left first to arrange the banquet, only the Heaven Do team led by Lin Yuan and the group from Blue Tyrant Academy led by Lu Erlong remained at the scene. Lu Erlong looked at the ethereal youth before her, a trace of complexity flashing in her beautiful eyes. She had personally led the team here under the guise of an exchange match, but in reality, it was to get closer to Lin Yuan. Seeing a rare opportunity, Lu Erlong simply opened up. Pretending to be curious, she walked up to Lin Yuan and asked, "You're the captain of Heaven Do Team 1, Lin Yuan, right? I just heard Teacher Sun's introduction. You seem to be very strong." Lu Erlong intentionally turned her gaze toward Yu Tianong nearby and asked meaningfully, "I'm a bit curious. Compared to Tianong, who exactly is more powerful?" The moment this question was asked, the surrounding air instantly froze. Yu Tianong's face turned ugly in an instant. He lowered his head in embarrassment, wishing he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. "And Erlong, please stop asking." Du Guyan's lips twitched as well, thinking to herself, is this Lu Erlong truly stupid or just pretending? She clearly knew that just a few days ago, Yu Tianong had been thrashed by Lin Yuan's spear, nearly losing his arm. Asking such a thing in front of so many people now, wasn't that like twisting a knife in his heart? How cruel. Lu Erlong was also feeling quite helpless. Here, she was only somewhat familiar with Yu Tianong. Nephews were meant to be sold out, after all. She used the matter of Yu Tianong to open up a conversation. Xiao Wu also asked knowingly, "Dean Lu, are you very close with Yu Tianong? He was beaten up by my brother just a few days ago. Who do you think is more powerful?" As soon as these words came out, Yu Tianong's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. His fists were clenched so tightly that his nails were about to sink into his flesh. Xiao Wu wasn't giving him an ounce of face at all. Lin Yuan thought for a moment. It just so happened that this month's binding slot hadn't been used yet, so he used the binding on Lu Erlong. Ding, congratulations host, binding successful. Lu Erlong is indeed a diary copy owner. Congratulations host for obtaining the binding reward, one of Lu Erlong's spirit abilities, Bursting Dragon Flame. Note, this skill will be integrated into the host's double pupils and can be activated through the pupils. Skill effect, both eyes release extreme bursting flames with immense penetration and explosiveness, carrying the dual attributes of incineration and blast. Lin Yuan felt a surge of joy. As his body spirit, the double pupils currently lack powerful offensive means aside from its auxiliary capabilities. After all, besides that one natal spirit ring, he hadn't bestowed any other spirit rings upon it. Now that he had this bursting dragon flame combined with his eye external spirit bone, it could be considered a powerful offensive method. While leading everyone toward the banquet hall, Lin Yuan summoned his diary in his mind and began to write. Since you've approached me yourself, shouldn't I expose your dark history properly? And I might as well drag the Strength Clan out for a stroll too. Today is the day of the exchange match between Heaven Do Royal Academy and Blue Tyrant Academy. However, to save Lu Erlong's face, the academy chose a closed-door competition with no extra spectators. This was a wise choice. After all, as expected, the strength of the Spirit Masters from Blue Tyrant Academy was indeed a bit weak. Xiao Wu took down their entire team by herself. Among them, that big guy named Tai Long was beaten the most miserably by her. His face is black and blue. I wonder if his old man will come to the academy to find trouble with Xiao Wu after he goes back today. The Strength Clan is notoriously protective of their own, even to the point of being somewhat shameless. In the original work, that big idiot Tai Long took a fancy to Xiao Wu and felt Tang San wasn't good enough for her, so he challenged Tang San. The result was, naturally, him being completely dominated by Tang San. And then, the young one got beaten, so the old one came. Tai Long's father, Tai Nuo, a spirit king, actually ran to the school to find trouble with Tang San, who was only a spirit elder, under the pretext offsparing. In the end, Tai Nuo was also beaten up by Tang San. Immediately following that, someone even more shameless arrived. The old one got beaten, so the even older one came. The clan chief of the Strength Clan, the rank 86 spirit Douluo Titan, actually stepped out personally. As an expert of the older generation, he actually went to bully a junior. He even wanted to make a bet with Tang San. Truly shameless. But this time is different from the original work. The Strength Clan has long since declined and can only linger on in Heaven Do City now. It's one thing to go to Blue Tyrant Academy to bully a kid like Tang San who has no background, or so they think. After all, that was Lu Erlong's territory, and it counted as an internal private fight within the academy. Back then, as the dean, Lu Erlong was only a rank 70-something spirit saint. Her strength was inferior to Titan's. Even if she found out, she could only try to persuade him and didn't dare to truly fall out with him, unless she sought her family's help, but her relationship with her family wasn't exactly good. But it's different now. Where is this? Heaven Do Royal Academy. If Titan dares to come here to cause trouble or dares to lay a hand on Xiao Wu, it would be equivalent to slapping the Heaven Do Imperial family in the face and provoking the majesty of the entire Heaven Do Empire. Would those three spirit Douluo of the three great committee members just sit idly by? I'm actually quite curious to see what his father and grandfather will do after Tai Long goes back today. Will they continue to carry on their fine tradition of being overprotective? Or will they tuck their tails between their legs and behave? P.S. Requesting recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, collections, and follow-up reads tilde. Chapter 142. Ning Rongrong, is the gossip about me now? When she saw the evaluation of the Strength Clan in the diary, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. This guy really dares to say anything. Lu Erlong recalled the past behavior of the Strength Clan. In her impression, this bunch of gorillas were indeed quite protective of their own, and they weren't very bright, just stubborn. Although that child Tai Long seemed honest, his father and grandfather. Lu Erlong felt a bit of a headache. If things really got out of hand, it would be difficult for her as the principal to handle. At this time, the chat group also exploded because of this diary entry. I want to live past 30. At Irritable Pig Farmer and Erlong, if this kind of situation where the strong bully the weak really happens, as the principal, you won't just sit by and watch, right? I want to live past 30. If the Strength Clan dares to be shameless enough to bully the weak, HMPH, I can't guarantee I won't ask my grandpa to go give Titan a beating. I want to live past 30. Let him know the power of my Jade Phosphor Serpent Poison. Bullying the weak and being protective. Who doesn't know how to do that? Du Guyan's words could be described as overflowing with dominance. In the original work, after she lost to Tang San, when she encountered him again at the Heaven Do Royal Academy, she couldn't help but tell Du Gubo about losing the spirit fighting match. At that time, Du Gubo didn't say a word and went straight to find trouble with Tang San, even wanting to kill him. It can be seen that old poison, Du Gubo, is definitely no less protective of his own than the Strength Clan, and perhaps even more ruthless. 7 Treasures little rich girl, hee, that's right, that's right. My 7 Treasure glazed tile school isn't to be trifled with either. 7 Treasures little rich girl, dare to bully our sisters. If that old orangutan Titan dares to come, I'll have my grandpa sword cleave him with one strike. Looking at the attitudes of Du Guyan and Ning Rongrong in the group, Xiaowu's heart felt a wave of warmth. Is this what it feels like to have sisters backing you up? It's really nice. Meanwhile, Lu Erlong looked at the messages in the group with a sense of helplessness. These young girls each have such formidable backgrounds, they really are not to be provoked. She replied in the group. Irritable pig farmer, sigh, don't get so excited. Irritable pig farmer, Tai Long's temperament is fairly honest, he probably won't take the initiative to complain. Irritable pig farmer, but, his father Tai Nuo and grandfather Tai Tan are famous for their explosive tempers and protectiveness. Irritable pig farmer, even if Tai Long explains clearly that it was a normal sparring match, they'll likely still come looking for trouble when they see him beaten like that. Irritable pig farmer, I will do my best to restrain them, but as you know, the main issue is the gap in strength. Irritable pig farmer, don't let the fact that Titan is only an 86th ranked spirit Douluo fool you, his pure strength is terrifying, and to some extent, he is actually not weaker than an average title Douluo. Irritable pig farmer, I'm currently only a rank 70-something spirit saint. If it really comes to a fight, unless I ask for help from my family, I'm no match for Titan. Lu Erlong expressed her helplessness. However, she added one last thing at the end. Irritable pig farmer, but if the Strength Clan really doesn't know what's good for them and dares to come looking for trouble, I'm not someone to be messed with either. Lu Erlong doing this could actually be considered saving the Strength Clan, or you could say she wanted to make a good impression in front of Lin Yuan. Maybe Lin Yuan would mention her more in the diary because she blocked the Strength Clan. Then Lin Yuan continued in the diary. But to be honest, I'm actually looking forward to those gorillas from the Strength Clan blindly coming to cause trouble. That way, I'll have a legitimate reason to take action against them. After all, among the 4 great single attribute sects that were once under the Clear Sky sect, the one I dislike the most is this Strength Clan. How should I describe them? Pure lickspittles for Tang Hao. In the original works plot, after Tai Long was beaten by Tang San, the old one came because the young one was hit, and then the even older one came because the old one was hit. Finally, the clan chief Titan personally stepped out, using his status as a spirit Douluo to oppress Tang San. And the result? When Titan saw Tang San forced to release his second spirit, the Clear Sky Hammer. The reaction of that old fellow was simply incredible. His first reaction wasn't surprise, but wild joy. After confirming that Tang San really was Tang Hao's son. This rank 80-something spirit Douluo directly thudded onto one knee, shouting with tears streaming down his face, this old servant, Titan, greets the young lord. That scene was truly bootlicking at its finest. Although Titan recognized Tang San as the young lord because he valued Tang San's twin spirit's talent and wanted to invest in the future. But kneeling that quickly and smoothly is a bit much, isn't it? It's truly a bit shameless. Doesn't he think about why their Strength Clan, and even the other 3 single attribute sects speed, breaking, defense ended up in their current state of living under someone else's roof? Even being suppressed by the spirit hall to the point of almost being exterminated. Ultimately, because of whom? Wasn't it because of Tang Hao? Back then, Tang Hao hammered the Supreme Pontiff, it was satisfying at the time, but then he just patted his butt and left, and the Clear Sky sect also chickened out, directly sealing off their mountain and not coming out. When they sealed the mountain, did they take their affiliated sects with them? No. They directly discarded these 4 sects like trash, leaving them to face the wrath of the spirit hall alone. Indeed, the Clear Sky sect was dishonorable. But tracing back to the source, the root cause of all this was Tang Hao's impulsiveness back then. But what about Titan? After knowing Tang San was Tang Hao's son, not only did he not have a shred of resentment, but he instead recognized him as the young lord. What does that show? It shows he doesn't hate Tang Hao at all. Even, this old guy wanted Tang San to go and subdue the other 3 single attribute sects. Titan's purpose in doing this was clearly a speculative gamble, he wanted to place a huge bet on Tang San. After all, their Strength Clan was already so destitute, how much worse could it get? It's better to be a dog for Tang Hao's son, if Tang San takes off in the future, they can all benefit from his success. And if we judge purely by the results, I have to admit that this old fox Titan's early investment was indeed correct. Later, Tang San founded the Tang sect, which became the #1 sect on the continent, and the Strength Clan became the core of the Tang sect, the Strength Hall, enjoying boundless glory. In contrast, another power that placed a heavy bet on Tang San wasn't so lucky. That would be the 7 Treasure glazed tile school. Seeing this point, Ning Rongrong, who had been eating gossip while inwardly cursing the Strength Clan for being shameless, suddenly had her expression change as an ominous feeling welled up in her heart. P.S. Please keep reading, brothers tilde. Chapter 143, I don't believe everyone in your spirit hall is a saint. It can be said that the fate of the 7 Treasure glazed tile school was far more tragic than that of the Strength Clan. One must know that in the late stage of the original work, Spirit Hall's ambition swelled, and they directly established a nation, renaming themselves the Spirit Empire. And during the spirit hunting operation, launched by the Spirit Empire, aimed at clearing all obstacles. Because the 7 Treasure glazed tile school had long been close to Tang San and had even reached a deep level of cooperation with the Tang sect purchasing hidden weapons. They were directly listed as the #1 target for elimination by the Spirit Empire. That night, flames reached the sky, and blood flowed like a river. The Spirit Empire dispatched several titled Douluo and thousands of Spirit Masters to launch a devastating surprise attack on the 7 Treasure glazed tile school. In that battle, the 7 Treasure glazed tile school suffered heavy losses, the outer sect disciples were almost completely wiped out, and not even 1 in 10 direct disciples survived. If it weren't for the sect's disciples being equipped with the godly Zug crossbows and other hidden weapons sold by Tang San, catching the opponent off guard, the 7 Treasure glazed tile school might have been completely annihilated that very night. Even so, to cover the evacuation of Ning Fengji and the sect's core personnel, Sword Douluo stayed behind alone to hold the line. With just 1 man and 1 sword, he stood firm against 4 of Spirit Hall's titled Douluo. In the end, he paid the painful price of having his right arm severed before he barely managed to escape with the remnants of the group. As far as the outcome was concerned, Ning Fengji had bet the fate of the entire sect on Tang San, but this investment was clearly a failure. Seeing this, Ning Rongrong's face turned pale, and her delicate body couldn't stop trembling. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, at Supreme Pontiff, BB Dong. Get out here. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, your spirit hall truly has wild ambitions. You actually want to establish an empire. You even want to unify the continent. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, for the sake of your ambition, you would actually strike such a vicious blow against my 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, to destroy a sect and wipe out its legacy, are you people even human? After the message was sent, the group fell into a dead silence. Spirit City, Supreme Pontiff Palace. Looking at the contents of the diary, a hint of coldness flashed in BB Dong's eyes, but it was mostly replaced by a domineering aura that looked down upon the world. She gave a cold snort in reality, her scepter thudding heavily against the ground. HMPH. Can't take even this much. In the chat group, she replied coldly. Supreme Pontiff, Ning Rongrong, as the future successor of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, you shouldn't be so naive. Supreme Pontiff, isn't this a perfectly normal thought? Go ask the emperors of the Heaven Do Empire or the Star Luo Empire. Supreme Pontiff, ask them if they don't dream of defeating all other forces and unifying the Douluo Continent. Supreme Pontiff, it's just that they can't do it. They don't have the strength. Supreme Pontiff, in terms of overall national power, the 2 great empires might be decent, but in terms of top-tier combat power, do you think they could be a match for Spirit Hall? Supreme Pontiff, in this world, the strong prey on the weak, and the winner takes all. Supreme Pontiff, furthermore, don't be too naive. Supreme Pontiff, my Spirit Hall has extended goodwill to your 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School more than once, trying to win over Ningfengji. Supreme Pontiff, but what did your father do? Supreme Pontiff, not only did he refuse, but he also kept supporting the Heaven Do Imperial family. And according to the future written in Lin Yuan's diary, he even hooked up with Tang San. Supreme Pontiff, since he refused the easy way and chose the hard way, and since he chose to stand against Spirit Hall, he must be prepared to be destroyed. The winner is king, and the loser is the villain. These words were bone-chillingly cold, yet so realistic that they were impossible to refute. Juliana, who had been lurking, also stepped forward. Although she felt lost about her own future, when it came to defending Spirit Hall's position, she felt it was her duty. Username, Ning Rongrong, although I sympathize with your future plight, there are some things I must say. Username, unifying the continent might not benefit high and mighty noble sects like yours, and might even take away a piece of your pie. Username, but for the commoners of the world, it is absolutely a good thing. Username, as the little princess of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, you've lived in luxury since childhood. You should also be aware of everything Spirit Hall has done for the commoners, right? Username, for instance, every year, deacons are dispatched to every remote village on the continent to help commoner children with their spirit awakening for free. Username, how long has this been going on? Username, look at the 2 great empires, are your 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and other sect forces. Username, who can do it? Who is willing to do it? Username, in your eyes, commoners are just ants, not worth investing resources in. Username, take Lin Yuan, whom you all like so much, as an example. He was also an orphan and grew up in a remote little mountain village. Username, if a Spirit Hall deacon hadn't gone to help him with his spirit awakening, no matter how high his talent, he would probably just be an ordinary commoner right now, wouldn't he? Username, how would he have a chance to stand here and become the favored son of heaven in your eyes? I really don't swing that way. Alright, stop arguing. Actually, this matter has nothing to do with right or wrong, only positions. I really don't swing that way. If you really can't settle this dispute, why not ask Lin Yuan? I really don't swing that way. Ask him what his attitude toward the 2 great empires and Spirit Hall actually is. Once this sentence was said, the group immediately quieted down quite a bit. Lin Yuan's attitude was undoubtedly what the women cared about most. I really don't swing that way. I've been lurking, living in the Heaven Do Empire for so many years. I really don't swing that way. Being at the center of this whirlpool of power, I've seen far too many noble playboys. I really don't swing that way. They oppress the good and treat human life like grass. In their eyes, commoners aren't even as precious as the dogs they keep. I really don't swing that way. Is such an empire and such a system really worth defending? Seeing Qian Runshui's words, Douluo Yan couldn't sit still. Although she also hated those playboys, she was, after all, a person of the Heaven Do Empire, and her grandfather had some connection with the Heaven Do Imperial family. I want to live past 30. I don't like what you're saying. Don't tell me your Spirit Hall doesn't have any playboys. I want to live past 30. Spirit Hall's branch halls are located in every town and city on the continent, even in remote villages. I want to live past 30. With such a massive organization and so many personnel, can you guarantee there aren't any scum who live in luxury and debauchery or oppress the people? I want to live past 30. I don't believe everyone in your Spirit Hall is a saint. P.S. Please vote with recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, add to your collection, and keep reading tilde. Chapter 144. Just how good do you say Spirit Hall is to commoners? Faced with Douluo Yan's rebuttal, Qian Runshui did not get angry. Instead, she replied with extraordinary frankness and dominance. I really don't swing that way. I cannot guarantee perfection. When the forest is large, there will be all kinds of birds. That is simply human nature. I really don't swing that way, but I can guarantee one thing. The proportion of such scum in our Spirit Hall is definitely far lower than among the nobles of the 2 great empires. I really don't swing that way, because Spirit Hall has strict ecclesiastical laws and is supervised by the Judgment Elder Palace. I really don't swing that way. I'll put it plainly. If you think any branch hall master or any cardinal has oppressed the common people, say their name right now. I really don't swing that way. As long as the investigation proves it true, there's no need for a lengthy trial. I can immediately send the Judgment Spirit Master Corps to deal with it. I really don't swing that way. No mercy. Qian Runshui's words directly silenced Douluo Yan. However, Qian Runshui's offensive was not over yet. I really don't swing that way, but can the royal families of the 2 great empires do the same? I really don't swing that way. Setting everything else aside, let's talk about the famous 4th Prince Shui Bang right here in Heaven Do City. I really don't swing that way. You should have all heard of the things he's done, right? I really don't swing that way. Galloping horses through the streets, kidnapping young women, beating commoners, and even driving families to ruin over trivial matters. I really don't swing that way, and the result? Did Emperor Shui Yi do anything about it? I really don't swing that way, no. I really don't swing that way. He is still a high and mighty prince, still acting tyrannical in Heaven Do City, enjoying a life of luxury. I really don't swing that way. Just because he has royal bloodline, he can stand above the laws of the empire. I really don't swing that way. Is this the empire you defend? Is this so-called justice? Du Guyan looked at what Qian Runshui said, opened her mouth, but found herself speechless. Prince Shui Beng's notorious reputation was indeed known to everyone in Heaven-Do City. In the eyes of outsiders, that was ironclad proof of royal corruption. Ning Rongrong also lowered her head. She was a beneficiary of the system, but faced with such a bloody comparison of facts, her heart couldn't help but waver. Spirit Hall might be overbearing toward the sects that didn't align with them in the two great empires. But at least in their attitude toward commoners, they were indeed much cleaner than the two great empires. Inside the chat group, although Du Guyan was stunned by Qian Runshui's words and didn't know how to refute them for a moment. Because she knew that if one were to discuss groups given to extravagance and pleasure-seeking, the two great empires' circles were definitely far higher than Spirit Hall's. This didn't require a special investigation, one only needed to look at their public reputations. However, not everyone was like Du Guyan, looking only at the surface. Zhu Zuyun, who was at the center of the Douluo Empire's royal whirlpool and had grown up amidst power struggles, had a different insight at this moment. She looked at the diary copy and subsequently voiced her doubts in the group. Queen of the Dark Knight, you certainly make it sound high-sounding. Queen of the Dark Knight, but, although you say Spirit Hall helps commoners with free spirit awakening. Queen of the Dark Knight, isn't your true purpose also to use this to filter out those with innate spirit power potential and then pull them into Spirit Hall to work for you? Queen of the Dark Knight, this is merely a, casting a wide net, investment, don't make it sound so selfless. Queen of the Dark Knight, furthermore, you say Spirit Hall is so good to commoners. Queen of the Dark Knight, from my perspective, that's not necessarily the case, is it? Queen of the Dark Knight, take the gold coin subsidies that Spirit Hall gives to Spirit Masters every month. Queen of the Dark Knight, as far as I know, the majority of that money actually comes from the taxes paid by the two great empires. Queen of the Dark Knight, your Spirit Hall only contributes a very small portion, or is simply responsible for distributing it on their behalf. Queen of the Dark Knight, moreover, the targets of your subsidies are only Spirit Masters, which just happens to include commoner Spirit Masters but does not include the entire group of commoners. Queen of the Dark Knight, for those ordinary people who cannot cultivate, I don't see your Spirit Hall providing much in the way of substantial subsidies, do I? Zhu Zuyun's words were sharp and hit the mark perfectly. This speech directly left the 7-year-old Ning Rongrong dazed. Although she was the future successor of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and had been exposed to sect affairs since childhood. She was still too young, and her thoughts were relatively simple. She was far from seeing through things as clearly as a mature older sister, like Zhu Zuyun. Looking at Zhu Zuyun's sharp remarks, a hint of surprise flashed in Qian Runshui's eyes, followed by a cold sneer in her heart. She's a sensible person. Pity, her perspective is still a bit small. I really don't swing that way. Your viewpoint is very sharp, but you've ignored a fundamental premise. I really don't swing that way. If it weren't for Spirit Hall pressuring the two great empires, do you think the two great empires would be so kind as to be willing to take out gold coins to give subsidies to Spirit Masters? I really don't swing that way. They would rather use it to build palaces or maintain armies than give a single bronze coin to the common folk. I really don't swing that way. As for your claim that free awakening is for recruiting talent, I don't deny that, nor do I need to. I really don't swing that way. Any organization needs fresh blood. But if even you can think of this, do you think the emperors of the two great empires can't? I really don't swing that way. They could completely send people to the countryside to provide free spirit awakening for commoners, then recruit them to expand the empire's Spirit Master legions. I really don't swing that way, but have you seen them do it? I really don't swing that way, no. I really don't swing that way, because in the eyes of those arrogant nobles, commoners are just commoners, they aren't worth investing effort in. They are merely cheap labor tools. I really don't swing that way. Only Spirit Hall is willing to give these ants a heaven-defying chance to change their fate. Qian Runshui's words pulled the situation back in her favor once again. Then, she shifted the topic. I really don't swing that way. As for what you said about not providing subsidies to ordinary commoners, that is indeed an oversight by my Spirit Hall. I really don't swing that way. I will take note of it and have specialized people in Spirit Hall draft a subsidy policy for ordinary commoners. I really don't swing that way, but there's one thing you should know, right? My Spirit Hall is only an organization, not a country. I really don't swing that way. Those commoners are supposed to belong to the two great empires, yet you want an organization like Spirit Hall to implement such public welfare policies. Ha ha ha. I really don't swing that way. Fine, as you wish. Will you be satisfied then? ... Chapter 145. Nobles rely on inheritance, commoners rely on mutation. Qian Runshui's words carried a heavy implication, one could even say they were quite explicit. Seeking welfare for the commoners was originally the responsibility and obligation of the two great empires. Yet Spirit Hall, which was merely a religious organization, was being asked to implement policies similar to those of a nation. It was truly somewhat laughable. Didn't this indirectly acknowledge that their Spirit Hall was also a nation? Zhu Zuyun hadn't expected Qian Runshui to retort like this. It immediately put her at a disadvantage, making her expression turn slightly unsightly. She then shook her head and thought to herself, as expected of the young lord of Spirit Hall, her mind is indeed very sharp. Seeing this, Bibi Dong within the Supreme Pontiff Palace could no longer sit still. Supreme Pontiff, you don't need to worry about this matter. I will give the order later and have Platinum Bishop Solace and the others handle it. However, Qian Runshui didn't give her biological mother any face at all, retorting directly in the group. I really don't swing that way. Bibi Dong, you should just save it. I really don't swing that way. The number of ordinary commoners on the continent is so vast that the funding involved would be astronomical. This is a matter of great importance. I really don't swing that way. A decision of this level must be discussed with grandfather and the others. I really don't swing that way. Just a single word from you, the Supreme Pontiff, its weight is probably not enough. Within Spirit Hall. Seeing Qian Runshui's merciless, brutal honesty, Bibi Dong's face instantly turned ashen, and the scepter in her hand creaked under her grip. That brat. Although she was furious, she couldn't refute it. Despite her being the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall now, enjoying boundless glory. In private, the true core power of Spirit Hall, especially regarding major finances and the mobilization of top-tier martial force, was actually still held in the hands of the 7 high priests of the Hall of Worship. She couldn't command the adjudicating elders of the Elder Palace at all. While the drama of motherly love and filial piety was playing out in the group, Lin Yuan's diary continued. However, from a long-term perspective, the 4 great single attribute sects didn't actually gain any real benefits. Because in the era 10,000 years later, the Tang sect was nearly wiped out, and those 4 great single attribute sects didn't even leave a legacy behind, completely vanishing into the long river of history. On the contrary, the 7 treasure glazed tile school, though it had declined into a second-rate sect by then, at least its legacy managed to continue. Writing up to this point, Lin Yuan paused, thinking of something extremely ironic. And there's actually one thing I've always found quite strange. In the original work, at the end of this era, the Shrek 7 Devils led by Tang San guided the 2 great empires to defeat the Spirit Empire. At that time, the Tang sect could be said to be infinitely glorious, the number 1 sect on the Douluo Continent. The factions with good relations with the Tang sect included the Clear Sky sect, the 7 treasure glazed tile school, and Shrek Academy. Even because the Heaven Do Emperor Shui Bang was Tang San's disciple, and Dai Mubai was the vice sect master of the Tang sect. The relationship between the Tang sect and the 2 great empires could also be described as extremely close. However, 10,000 years later, the Tang sect had declined to the point of being nearly exterminated. The entire Tang sect was left with only the sect leader Tang Yuan that Bebe the Thunderbolt, who had joined under Muen's instructions. This is simply the height of absurdity. One must know that 10,000 years later, although the Clear Sky sect lived in seclusion, it remained a top-tier power on the Douluo continent. And Shrek Academy had become the continent's number 1 academy, independent of the empires, with many titled Douluo and Limit Douluo within its ranks. So here comes the question, those sects and academies that were originally close to the Tang sect and treated each other like brothers. Why did they stand by and watch the Tang sect decline step by step? Why did they watch the foundation left by Tang San nearly have its legacy severed? What on earth were they thinking? Or is it that so-called brotherly affection is completely worthless in the face of interest and time? Furthermore, because the Spirit Empire was destroyed. 10,000 years later, there was no longer any organization on the Douluo continent willing to help commoners awaken their spirits for free. This actually completely blocked the only path for commoners to advance upward. In this world, spirit is everything. What spirit do you awaken? What is your innate spirit power? These 2 points basically determine what kind of life you can lead, whether you become a superior person or live like a beast of burden. There is a saying that I think is perfectly suited for this world. Nobles rely on inheritance, commoners rely on mutation. In this world, if a commoner wants to become a spirit master, they must first have innate spirit power. And to change their social class, their innate spirit power needs to be high, and the quality of their spirit also needs to be relatively good. How difficult is this for commoners whose ancestors for generations had spirits like hoes and sickles? This actually requires their spirits to undergo an extremely rare, benign mutation to be possible. In the original work, Ma Hongjun is the most typical example of this. The people in his village had spirits that were non-combative grass chickens for generations. Yet he was the only one whose spirit underwent a mutation with an extremely low probability, awakening the top-tier evil fire phoenix. Although it had the fatal side effect of the evil fire, requiring him to find women to vent, it was at least a positive mutation and his innate spirit power wasn't low. It was precisely because of this mutation that he was noticed by Flender, brought back to Shrek Academy, and taken in as a direct disciple. But there's only one Ma Hongjun. Out of thousands upon thousands of grass chicken villages, how many phoenixes can emerge? More often, it's those ordinary people whose mutations failed or who didn't mutate at all. I have racked my brains trying to think of a second path for commoners to change their fate besides awakening a spirit. But unfortunately, I can't think of anything. In this world, spirit is everything, or one could say bloodline is everything. Because spirits originate from bloodlines, and after the Spirit Empire was destroyed, no one would awaken spirits for commoners for free, even this last sliver of hope was stripped away from them. 10,000 years later, the tragedy of that era makes me feel chilled just thinking about it. At that time, there were even spirit masters with decent talent who had to sell their own bodies to exchange for money to treat their family members' illnesses. Even Huo Yuhao, as the child of luck, had to spend his spare time selling grilled fish at the school gate to make a living. There were even people who thought 5 bronze coins for a grilled fish was too expensive and bargained for 3 bronze coins. This is simply unimaginable for current spirit masters. Chapter 146, Interests above all, when the rabbits are dead, the hounds are cooked. Looking at the current conditions for spirit masters, one can receive a subsidy of 1 gold coin from Spirit Hall every month. This amount of money can be said to be quite a lot. For someone like Tang San, who started receiving subsidies at age 6, by the time he became a spirit grandmaster at age 12, he had already saved up over 200 gold coins. 1 gold coin is enough for an ordinary family of 3 to live very comfortably and luxuriously for several months. And what about 10,000 years later? Although those great empires also issue subsidies, the amount remains the same as it is now. Spirit masters still receive 1 gold coin a month. However, the purchasing power of this single gold coin is worlds apart from what it is now. After 10,000 years of inflation, the purchasing power of 1 gold coin is only enough to provide a spirit master with basic food and clothing for 1 month. And that's not even mentioning buying any cultivation resources. The spirit master Lin Yuan mentioned in the diary was Zhang Nanan. In this current era, someone with innate level 9 would be nurtured as a core disciple by major sects, with more than enough resources, never needing to worry about money. But 10,000 years later, because her mother was seriously ill and needed an expensive medicinal pill, she, a genius with innate level 9, actually found no one to turn to for help. In the end, she actually fell to the point of needing to sell her first knight to the Xuanming sect. This kind of situation is basically impossible to happen in the era of Douluo Daluai, which is now. Unless it was forced. Of course, this kind of thing can only be said to be a matter of mutual consent, but from this incident, one can actually see that spirit masters without a background 10,000 years later truly live very difficult lives. If it's like this for those with high talent, what about those with average talent? Regarding the situation Lin Yuan mentioned earlier about the Tang sect's decline from prosperity and other forces looking on coldly or even kicking them while they were down. Whether it was Bibi Dong or Bo Saishi far away on Seagot Island, their hearts were actually as clear as a mirror. They were both women standing at the peak of power and saw through this kind of political maneuvering all too clearly. It was nothing more than 4 words, interests above all. Or that old saying, when the rabbits are dead, the hounds are cooked. The Tang sect's power was too great. After the Spirit Empire was destroyed, it lost its greatest value for existence. Instead, because it possessed terrifying hidden weapons technology guessed through clues and was closely related to the royalty of the 2 great empires, it became a thorn in the side of other major forces. In the final analysis, it was because the power was too strong, attracting jealousy. The reason those forces united with the Tang sect to deal with the Spirit Empire was only because the Spirit Empire was too strong and was their common enemy. And when this common enemy was struck down, the original allies naturally split apart and even became new enemies. Even if their relationship was very close at the beginning, 10,000 years have passed, and generation after generation has changed. Human hearts will always change. Who would still remember the old ties of the past? Who would still tolerate a transcendent giant pressing down on their heads? Inside the chat group, the girls were also watching with racing hearts. Especially Ning Rongrong. Although she had been told before that the 7 treasure glazed tile school's future was miserable, seeing that the Tang sect and the 4 great single attribute sects also declined, a strange sense of balance actually rose in her heart. 7 treasures little rich girl. Hiss, the world 10,000 years later sounds so hopeless. Looking at it this way, my 7 treasure glazed tile school's legacy actually lasted quite a long time. 7 treasures little rich girl. I didn't expect that the 4 great single attribute sects, spirits would actually have their legacies broken 10,000 years later and completely disappear. Just then, Zhu Zuyun, who had been looking for a chance to counterattack Qian Runshui, sees the paragraph in the diary about the subsidies. Queen of the Dark Knight, Qian Runshui, didn't you say just now that without Spirit Hall, the 2 great empires would never give subsidies to spirit masters? Queen of the Dark Knight, but now Lin Yuan's diary clearly states it. Queen of the Dark Knight, 10,000 years later, even though Spirit Hall is gone, the great empires still issue subsidies. Queen of the Dark Knight, this shows that even without the pressure from your Spirit Hall, the empires will still give money to spirit masters. Queen of the Dark Knight, your argument just now seems to be invalid, doesn't it? Zhu Zuyun felt she had gained the upper hand this time, carrying a hint of pride. However, Qian Runshui only smiled as she looked at this message. I really don't swing that way. Hee, did you only read half of it and fail to understand Lin Yuan's meaning? I really don't swing that way. Lin Yuan did say that subsidies were issued, but he also said that the purchasing power of these subsidies is worlds apart from now. I really don't swing that way. 1 gold coin now can let a family of 3 live comfortably for several months. I really don't swing that way. 1 gold coin 10,000 years later is only enough for one person's basic needs for a month. I really don't swing that way. That so-called subsidy they issue is essentially just brushing off beggars. And as she was writing, Lin Yan brought them to the banquet hall. Sun Buyu greeted them with a face full of smiles. Dean Lu, students, the banquet has been prepared. It features the top foods in Heaven-Do City, which will be of great benefit to your cultivation. Everyone, please take your seats. Lin Yuan led his team members and was the first to step into the banquet hall. At this point, Lin Yuan felt that this section of his diary was almost finished, so he put it away directly. Seeing that the diary content was not continuing, Lu Erlong's beautiful eyes widened, and her heart felt as if 10,000 grass mud horses were galloping through it. This little brat. He wrote a long, eloquent passage in the diary about the Strength Clan and even rambled about things 10,000 years later. But when it came to her, it just stopped. Lu Erlong was so angry that her chest heaved violently, and her already tight clothes were almost bursting. Today, she personally led the team and organized this so-called exchange match. What was it for? Wasn't it just to build a presence in front of Lin Yuan, so he would mention her more and she could get some rewards? And yet, here we are. This kid acted as if he did it on purpose, just to whet her appetite. Lu Erlong wailed in her heart, looking at Lin Yuan's back with teeth itching in hatred, yet she was helpless. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu, Du Guyan, and the others looked at Lu Erlong's expression, which looked like she was constipated, wanting to get angry but not daring to. They wanted to laugh but didn't dare to laugh out loud, so they could only frantically spam the group chat. 7 treasures little rich girl, hee hee. This is killing me, and Erlong, it seems your exchange match was in vain this time tilde. 7 treasures little rich girl, look at brother Lin Yuan, he put the diary away and didn't even pay attention to you, just went straight to eat. I want to live past 30, and Erlong, don't lose heart. Maybe tomorrow, oh no, next month when Lin Yuan is in a good mood, he'll mention you. Bunny who loves Tong Hulu, exactly, keep it up, and Erlong. Chapter 147, let others see, and they'll think you're an old cow eating tender grass. Watching these little girls tease her, Lu Erlong found it hard to speak up. In reality, Lin Yuan was doing it on purpose. With just a glance, he could see Lu Erlong's anxious expression. Want me to write about you? Hey, I just won't. For someone with a fiery temper like Lu Erlong, you have to let her stew and temper her nature. A mischievous smile curled at the corner of Lin Yuan's mouth. In high spirits, he sat down, picked up his chopsticks, and began to eat. The banquet began. Although it was called an exchange banquet, the atmosphere was somewhat awkward. The students from Heaven-Do Royal Academy were all in high spirits, having won the match and witnessed Xiao Wu's terrifying strength. On the Blue Tyrant Academy side, Tai Long sat in a corner with a swollen face, while the others kept their heads down, eating in silence. Lu Erlong naturally wasn't willing to give up. She picked up her wine glass and took the initiative to sit next to Lin Yuan. The unique fragrance of a mature woman instantly wafted over. Forcing a gentle smile that didn't match her personality, Lu Erlong poured Lin Yuan a glass of wine. Lin Yuan, your Heaven-Do team really opened my eyes in today's match. Come, let me toast you. This was small talk, trying to force a conversation. Lin Yuan merely glanced at her indifferently, picked up a glass of juice, and took a sip. Sorry, Dean Lu. I don't drink. Alcohol affects development for minors. Quote. The smile on Lu Erlong's face instantly froze. What the hell does development have to do with it? How tall are you already? But for the reward, she endured it. Ahem, not drinking is good. It's a good habit. Lu Erlong awkwardly put down the glass and changed the subject. By the way, Lin Yuan, you didn't fight in this exchange match. I heard your spirit is called God-slaying spear. What are its characteristics? Why such a domineering name? Unfortunately, Lin Yuan remained unresponsive. He picked up a piece of braised pork and put it in his mouth, mumbling, a spear is just for stabbing. As long as it's long and hard and can stab people to death, that's enough. Nothing special. Quote. Lu Erlong felt her blood pressure rising. This conversation was impossible. This was pure dismissal. Seeing Lin Yuan's indifferent attitude, Lu Erlong felt a lump in her chest that she couldn't swallow or spit out. Wasn't she still a charming and attractive female dean? Usually, many men wanted to talk to her, and she would kick them away. Today, she took the initiative to approach, and this kid ignored her. Really? It's driving me mad. Just as Lu Erlong was about to explode, Yu Tianong, who had been silently observing from the side, couldn't stand it anymore. He felt his aunt was acting too abnormally today. Where was the usual domineering, combative, horn of slaughter? Why was she pretending to be gentle here? So, Yu Tianong quietly pulled Lu Erlong to a corner of the banquet hall, lowered his voice, and said with a helpless and embarrassed expression, "And Erlong, what are you doing? Why does it look like you've been intentionally trying to chat up Lin Yuan? If outsiders see this, they'll think you're an old cow eating tender grass." Of course, Yu Tianong didn't dare say the last sentence out loud, unless he wanted to be roasted to a crisp. Lu Erlong was already furious, and being interrupted by her nephew made her even more irritable. She glared at Yu Tianong and said with a forced smile, "What? As an elder, can't I care about the younger generation? Besides." Lu Erlong's eyes darted as she made an excuse, "I'm just curious why Lin Yuan could beat you. He's so much younger than you. How did you lose?" Yu Tianong's mouth twitched, feeling a stab at his heart. "That hurts, Aunt. This is really bringing up the wrong topic. Don't you have any social awareness? No wonder Lin Yuan doesn't want to talk to you." Yu Tianong sighed and could only explain helplessly. Losing to him isn't unjust. It's said that behind Lin Yuan is a master with unfathomable strength. His master must have found him some heaven-defying cultivation resources, which is why his spirit power cultivation speed is faster than mine. If I had his spirit ring configuration, he definitely wouldn't be my match. Even though he lost, Yu Tianong was still very confident in his spirit. The number one beast spirit on the continent. If he had Lin Yuan's spirit ring configuration, Lin Yuan would definitely not be his match. Spirit ring configuration? Lu Erlong asked with feigned curiosity, what configuration could it be? Just 2 yellow and 1 purple, right? That's the optimal ratio. Can it be any different? Optimal ratio. Ha, Aunt, you underestimate that monster. His 3 spirit rings are black, purple, black. Black, purple, black. Lu Erlong's pupils contracted. You mean 10,000 year, 1,000 year, 10,000 year. This time, Lu Erlong was truly shocked. She didn't know. Lin Yuan hadn't boasted about it in his diary. How could he resist writing it down? Yu Tianong nodded, his face full of bitterness. Yes, I thought I was under an illusion at the time, but the terrifying pressure couldn't be faked. Also, Xiao Wu's spirit ring configuration, you saw it in today's match. Her second soul ring is also purple. That's definitely related to Lin Yuan. If we could find out how they did it. Yu Tianong's eyes flashed with desire. If the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan could master this secret technique, dominating the continent would be within reach. ... After hearing her nephew's words, Lu Erlong's mind was completely in turmoil. She originally just wanted to get the cultivation technique reward, but now she also wanted to increase her spirit ring years. Lu Erlong couldn't sit still any longer. She immediately opened the chat group and directly at Xiao Wu. Irritable pig farmer. A bunny who loves Douluo. Xiao Wu, I have a question. Why is your second soul ring purple? Irritable pig farmer. Did the system upgrade it, or did Lin Yuan use some special method to help you upgrade it? As soon as this question was asked, all the lurkers turned their attention. However, Xiao Wu's answer left Lu Erlong feeling snubbed. Bunny who loves Douluo. Hee, I won't tell you till the end Erlong, we're not that familiar. Bunny who loves Douluo. This is a secret between me and my brother, and also a secret among us. 7 treasures little rich girl. That's right. It's confidential, no comment. I want to live past 30, and Erlong, don't ask. This is a secret between us and brother Lin Yuan. Outsiders can't know. 9 hearts, +1. The 4 girls' unanimous response immediately caught the attention of other diary copy owners like Bibi Dong, Qian Runshui, and the 2 Zhu sisters. What did they mean by saying that? Chapter 148. Does the Crown Prince really have a taste for men? Our secret with Lin Yuan. One of our own. Wasn't this a disguised admission that their spirit ring ages, or rather, Xiao Wu's ability to condense spirit rings beyond her level was really something Lin Yuan helped them with? For a moment, everyone felt an itch in their hearts, like a cat scratching. Bibi Dong's eyes flickered inside the Supreme Pontiff Palace. Qian Runshui put down the files in her hands within the Crown Prince's mansion, lost in thought. Zhu Zuyun became even more determined to send her younger sister to the Heaven Do Royal Academy. They were all curious, even a little jealous. But they also understood that the 4 girls remaining silent was definitely Lin Yuan's intention. Midway through the banquet, the doors were slowly pushed open. A young man wearing a gold-threaded python robe, with a face as gentle as jade, stepped inside slowly. It was none other than the Crown Prince of the Heaven Do Empire, Shui Qing Qian Runshui. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Teacher Sun Buyu, who was originally a bit tipsy, instantly sobered up upon seeing the newcomer. He hurriedly straightened his clothes and went to greet him with trepidation, bowing deeply. I did not know your Highness the Crown Prince was coming. Please forgive me for failing to welcome you properly. Sun Buyu was shocked. It was just an ordinary academy exchange match. How did it even alert your Highness the Crown Prince? Teacher Sun, there is no need for such formalities. Shui Qing wore his signature gentle smile and gave Sun Buyu a slight support. I also heard that today was the day of the exchange match between our academy and Blue Tyrant Academy. Dean Lu Erlong of Blue Tyrant Academy personally led the team. She is a distinguished guest of the imperial family. As the Crown Prince, I should naturally come to fulfill my duties as the host. Having said that, she glanced at the few leftovers on the table and sighed with feigned regret. Unfortunately, it seems I have arrived a step too late. Tied down by official duties, I have kept everyone waiting. Although she was speaking to Sun Buyu and Lu Erlong, Qian Runshui's gaze flickered toward Lin Yuan from time to time. Why would she be here for the Blue Tyrant Academy? She had been waiting in the Imperial Palace for Lin Yuan to find her. During her last contact with Lin Yuan, she was shocked to discover that her spirit had actually produced a strange throb in resonance with Lin Yuan's spirit. Qian Runshui secretly speculated that since their spirits could resonate, was it possible for her and Lin Yuan to perform a spirit fusion skill? A fusion of the Seraphim and the God-slaying spear. What kind of terrifying existence would that be? Just thinking about it made Qian Runshui tremble all over. She desperately wanted to verify this. But that bastard Lin Yuan hadn't come to find her once since they last parted. How could she, as the Crown Prince, sit still? So, using the name of this exchange match, she took the initiative to come to him. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Seeing he couldn't avoid it, Lin Yuan could only stand up and cup his hands toward Qian Runshui, a slightly awkward but polite smile on his face. Long time no see. Qian Runshui walked up to Lin Yuan, looking at him with a half smile as she lowered her voice. Brother Lin Yuan, you certainly made me wait. After we parted last time, you agreed to visit my mansion when you had time, but you disappeared for over a month. Lin Yuan gave a dry cough. Ahem, what are you saying? Your Highness the Crown Prince has misunderstood. I've been out with Senior Douluo to cultivate recently, I only just returned 2 days ago. With various trivial matters tying me down, I haven't had the chance to visit yet. Saying this, Lin Yuan guaranteed solemnly, don't worry, in a couple of days, once I've handled the matters at hand, I will definitely go to the Imperial Palace to find you. Hearing Lin Yuan's promise, the resentment in Qian Runshui's eyes dissipated slightly. Meanwhile, Sun Buyu, watching the two, exchanging glances, from the side, was secretly startled. Rumor has it that your highness the crown prince has a taste for men, and Lin Yuan's appearance is quite good, could it be, he's taken a fancy to Lin Yuan? It wasn't Sun Buyu's fault for thinking this way. As an imperial crown prince, Shui Qing didn't have a single woman by his side, not even a maid for those kinds of things, making it hard not to suspect his sexual orientation. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the banquet finally came to an end. Lu Erlong stood at the door, watching the familiar way Lin Yuan and Shui Qing interacted, her heart filled with mixed emotions. She looked at Lin Yuan longingly, turning her head back with every step, her gaze full of resentment and unwillingness. Everyone was sent off. The night was quiet, and midnight arrived. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing today's diary entry. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Peerless Internal Skill Mind Cultivation Technique, 9 Divine Skill. Holy crap! Lin Yuan suddenly sat up, looking at the 4 large characters on the system panel, his eyes shining. 9 Divine Skill. This is one of the top-tier internal skill mind cultivation techniques in the Jinyang Wuxia world. 9 Divine Skill, extremely hard and masculine, achieving mastery through comprehensive understanding. Introduction. Cultivating this skill increases the formless, and internal energy regenerates at an incredibly fast speed, becoming infinite. It automatically protects the body and reflects external attacks when hit, a holy scripture for healing, immune to all poisons, and specifically counters cold and toxic internal energy. System notification. This cultivation technique does not conflict with the Chaos God Slaying record the host is currently practicing. Chaos God Slaying record focuses on spear techniques and slaughter, while 9 Divine Skill focuses on physical body tempering and the ceaseless flow of internal breath. Practicing both together combines hardness and softness, making one unparalleled in the world. Friendly reminder, 9 Divine Skill is a supreme yang technique, beneficial for gathering yang qi within the host's body, significantly enhancing the pleasure of kidney water and aiding the host's endurance in that area. Please cultivate with discretion to avoid excessive yang qi with no outlet for release. Ding! 9 Divine Skill has automatically reached the entry level. Cough, cough, cough. Lin Yuan almost choked on his own saliva. System, be serious. Am I that kind of person? However, feeling the surge of warmth in his body and his clearly strengthened physique, Lin Yuan still smiled with satisfaction. To have a harem in the future, how could he do without such a cultivation technique full of yang qi? Meanwhile, on the other side. The system's notification sound rang out again. Ding! Extracting rewards for today's diary copy owners. Detected that in today's host diary content, the mentioned diary copy owners generally have low relevance. Lu Erlong and Ning Rongrong were mentioned but did not meet the criteria. Therefore, a random draw for all members will be conducted. Extracting. Ding! Congratulations to Zhu Zuyun for becoming today's lucky winner. Reward obtained. Peerless Cultivation Technique, 9 Yen Manual. Includes a full set of martial skills. Star Luo Empire, Yuming Duke's Manor. Zhu Zuyun, who was wearing silk pajamas and preparing to rest, suddenly froze. Looking at the ancient secret manual that suddenly appeared in her hand, she was completely bewildered. I won a prize. P.S. Please give recommendation votes, monthly votes, favorites, and follow the updates tilde. Chapter 149, Unable to perform martial soul fusion. That's great. In the diary content Lin Yuan had mentioned so far, there wasn't a single part about her, yet she was actually lucky enough to be selected by the system. Actually this lucky. This is the charm of random selection. Before she could even react, the secret manual in her hand turned into a streak of light and shot directly into the space between her eyebrows. An extremely feminine yet vast and profound energy instantly exploded within her meridians. The 9 Yen Manual. The way of heaven is to take from those who have too much and give to those who do not have enough. Thus, the empty overcomes the full, and the insufficient overcomes the surplus. This ultimate yin and soft cultivation technique was practically tailor-made for the health of its spirit. Instant mastery. Zhu Zuyun only felt an invisible shackle within her body break, and a powerful wave of spirit power erupted from her. Her original rank 37 spirit power instantly broke through. Rank 38. Moreover, as the internal energy of the 9 Yen Manual circulated, she was surprised to find that her spirit was undergoing a startling transformation. The originally black cat shadow now became even deeper, faintly exuding a chill from the 9 nether hell. Her claws became sharper, and her gaze became even more soul-stirring. It mutated. Zhu Zuyun raised her hand, looking at the phantom of the bone-crushing divine claw swirling around her fingertips, her eyes filled with wild joy. Her spirit had become stronger. Because she was too excited, Zhu Zuyun couldn't sleep at all. She simply began practicing the martial skills included in the 9 Yen Manual within her spacious room. Upper volume, internal skill mind cultivation technique. Lower volume, martial skills. Bone-crushing divine claw. Heart-shattering palm. 9 spiral shadows. After images flickered in the room, and the sharp wind from her claws tore through the air with a whistling sound. Inside the chat group. 7 treasures little rich girl. Wow, has today's reward settlement come out yet? Who is the lucky one? I want to live past 30. Anyway, it's not me. Irritable pig farmer. Not me either. It's making me so mad. All my hard work was useless. Just then. Zhu Zuyun had finished her practice, wiped the fragrant sweat from her forehead, and posted a message in the group with a smug look. Queen of the Dark Knight. HMPH. Sorry sisters. Queen of the Dark Knight. The one who got the reward today is me. Queen of the Dark Knight is a dark attribute cultivation technique called the 9 Yen Manual. Queen of the Dark Knight. Not only did it directly increase my spirit power by 1 level, reaching rank 38. Queen of the Dark Knight. Most importantly, my health of its spirit seems to have mutated. As soon as these words were spoken, the group was filled with the sound of envy. However, just as Zhu Zuyun was feeling triumphant, Bibi Dong poured a bucket of cold water on her at the right time. Supreme Pontiff, don't get too ahead of yourself, let me remind you. Supreme Pontiff, the conditions for a spirit fusion skill are extremely strict, they require a high degree of compatibility between both parties' spirits. Supreme Pontiff, since your spirit has mutated, even if it's a beneficial mutation. Supreme Pontiff, then, your spirit fusion skill, the Hell White Tiger, with the star Luo Imperial family's eldest prince, Diaries, will very likely experience rejection, and there's a high probability you won't be able to perform the fusion anymore. As a possessor of twin spirits and one of the world's top experts, BB Dome's research into spirit theory was naturally extremely thorough. She was no longer that simple little girl from back then. And her words were by no means alarmist. However, to her surprise, after seeing this message, not only did Zhu Zuyun not feel the slightest bit of fear. On the contrary, she was overjoyed. Queen of the Dark Knight, unable to fuse. Queen of the Dark Knight, really? Queen of the Dark Knight, ha 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 ha. Queen of the Dark Knight, then I simply wish for it. Thank you for your auspicious words. Queen of the Dark Knight, this way, I have a reason to directly apply to withdraw from this damn imperial competition. Queen of the Dark Knight, to hell with being the crown princess. To hell with Diaries. Queen of the Dark Knight, I'm not serving them anymore. Zhu Zuyun looked at the mutated hell civet spirit in her palm, which had changed because of cultivating the 9-yin manual, her eyes flashing with unprecedented liberation and pleasure. Unable to fuse. Hey, that really is too wonderful. For that cold and heartless Diaries, who only had power in his eyes, Zhu Zuyun had no feelings. Perhaps in the original work, in that cruel imperial competition environment, she had to depend on Diaries to survive, even developing a morbid reliance. But now, with Lin Yuan's diary copy and the chance to change her fate, how could she, Zhu Zuyun, be willing to be Diaries' subordinate? Although she looked like a mature woman with a slightly curvaceous figure, this was perhaps related to her own spirit, she was still a virgin even now. And just then, a strange fluctuation suddenly came from within the chat group. Ding, detected host level increase, the diary copy chat group member limit has been expanded. Inviting new diary copy holders to join. Extreme North, Core Circle. Cold winds howled, and ice and snow filled the sky. Inside a magnificent palace built entirely from 10,000-year mystic ice, a terrifying chill suddenly erupted. Who is it? A delicate shout echoed through the hall. A girl wearing a dark green dress, with an exquisite but extremely cold face, suddenly stood up from her throne. In her emerald green eyes, a light of suspicion and uncertainty flickered, and her terrifying cultivation instantly locked down the entire space. It was none other than one of the 3 sovereigns of the far north, the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion, Ice Empress. However, there was no trace of any enemy around, except for this diary copy that appeared out of thin air. What is this thing? Ice Empress frowned. That feeling of being unable to control the situation made her very uneasy. But out of curiosity, she still tentatively opened the diary. Relying on the vast mental force of a vicious beast, she read almost 10 lines at a glance and quickly scanned through the contents of the diary Lin Yuan had written over the past 2 years. She directly skipped over the daily routines like nothing happened today. But the more she read, the more serious her expression became, and her heart even began to race. This human actually knows what will happen in the future. The world I am in was actually planned out by others long ago. This person named Lin Yuan is that so-called transmigrator. As for that Tang San, she had no interest at all. Whether it was possession or not, what did it have to do with her? She only cared about one thing: what could this diary copy bring her? She was currently at a cultivation level of 390,000 years, only one step away from the 400,000-year super heavenly tribulation. But she knew very well in her heart that with her current strength and foundation, the probability of surviving that heavenly tribulation was almost zero. There was a high probability she would be reduced to ashes under the lightning tribulation. I wonder if Snow Empress has obtained this thing. Tomorrow morning, I must go to her place to ask, no matter what. Chapter 150, Chat Group Expansion, New Diary Copy Owners. Just then, a new interface popped up on the diary. Ding, would you like to join the anonymous diary chat group? By entering the chat group, you can communicate and speak freely with other diary copy owners. Anonymous chat. Ice Empress raised an eyebrow, feeling very curious about this novel way of communication. Just as she was hesitating whether to join, the system's notification sound suddenly rang in her mind. Ding, congratulations on obtaining the guaranteed reward, 10,000-year ice marrow, 1 piece. What? Before Ice Empress could react, a piece of ice marrow emitting extreme cold air appeared out of thin air in front of her. That incredibly pure ice attribute energy made the blood inside Ice Empress's body boil. This is ice marrow. And it's at the 10,000-year level. Ice Empress's eyes widened, her breathing grew rapid, and she grabbed the piece of ice marrow in her hand. Usually, even 100-year or 1,000-year ice marrow was hard to come by, let alone 10,000-year. If I could have enough ice marrow, if I just had a few more pieces of this 10,000-year ice marrow, there would be hope for me to survive the 400,000-year heavenly tribulation. At this moment, Ice Empress no longer had any doubts about the authenticity of this diary copy. The system's rewards weren't just for show, it really gave them out. Soon, without even thinking, she directly entered a nickname and joined the chat group. Nickname: don't want to become an ice sculpture. Meanwhile, in the deepest part of the extreme north, Snow Empress experienced the same shock. Stardow Great Forest, Core Circle, Lake of Life. The calm surface of the lake suddenly erupted into violent waves. 4 diary copies appeared out of thin air almost simultaneously before Bai Ji, ZG, and the 3-eyed golden lion who were cultivating by the lakeside, as well as the silver dragon king Ji Yuina deep beneath the lake. Boom. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the bottom of the lake. The beast god DTN, the dark golden dreadclaw bear lord, and several other vicious beasts guarding nearby were instantly frightened into trembling, kneeling directly on the ground. This aura. Is it the lord? Why did the lord suddenly wake up? DTN turned pale with shock. Ignoring everything else, he hurriedly turned into a streak of black light and rushed to the lakeside, asking respectfully. Lord. Did something happen? Has an external enemy invaded? However, as the lake water parted, an exquisitely beautiful silver-haired figure slowly rose. Silver Dragon King, Ji Yuina. Her purple eyes held a hint of confusion and shock, and she was holding the diary copy in her hand. Hearing DTN's inquiry, Ji Yuina shook her head gently, her voice cold as water. It is nothing. Quote. DTN was speechless. Nothing. You made such a huge commotion for nothing. That moment just now almost scared the hearts out of me and the bear lord. We thought some invincible existence had appeared. Ji Yuina ignored DTN's confusion. Her gaze swept over Bai Ji, ZG, and the auspicious beast on the shore, who were equally shocked, and she said calmly. Bai Ji, ZG, and auspicious beast. The 3 of you, come down with me. The 3 of them nodded respectfully. Yes, lord. Then, the four figures submerged directly into the lake of life, diving into the space at the bottom of the lake that was isolated from all detection. Leaving only DTN, the Bear Lord, and the others looking at each other on the shore, completely baffled, the underwater space. You should have also obtained this diary copy, right? Ji Yuina asked straightforwardly. As the most steady vicious beast, Bai Ji spoke first, in reply to the Lord, yes. I took a brief look at the content inside just now, although it's somewhat inconceivable, I feel that it might be credible. Ji Yuina nodded, her purple eyes flashing with the light of wisdom. Indeed, the appearance of this thing is too strange, even my divine sense cannot detect its source. While the four were discussing, the diary copies in their hands vibrated again. Congratulations on obtaining the guaranteed reward. Congratulations to Bai Ji for obtaining 10,000 years of cultivation. Congratulations to ZG for obtaining 10,000 years of cultivation. Congratulations to the auspicious beast for obtaining 10,000 years of cultivation intelligence further developed. Congratulations to Ji Yuina for obtaining divine force origin repair injury recovery progress increased by 10%. 4 golden lights instantly enveloped the four of them. Bai Ji, ZG, and the auspicious beast only felt the spirit power in their bodies surge instantly. That tangible sense of improvement greatly surprised them, and there was an indescribable feeling of comfort. 10,000 years of cultivation. Ji Yuina's experience was even more profound. The damage she had originally suffered due to the splitting of the dragon god actually healed a bit at this moment. If she originally needed 20,000 years to fully recover, now she only needed 19,000 years. This system is real. Something that even those supreme god kings of the god realm couldn't do, it actually did so easily. At this moment, the four of them no longer had any doubt about the authenticity of the diary copy. Join it. Ji Yuina said calmly, let's see what secrets are hidden in this chat group. Soon, 4 nicknames full of personality appeared in the group member list. Silver Giant Dragon Ji Yuina. Emerald Guardian Bai Ji. Abyssal Witch ZG. Daughter of Fate Auspicious Beast. ... Besides the big shots from the spirit beast side entering the scene. The human world also welcomed new members. Sea God Island, beneath the Sea Maiden Sacred Pillar. A beautiful woman with wavy long hair and a fishtail for her lower body was staring blankly at the diary in her hand. She was one of the 7 sacred pillars of Sea God Island, the Sea Witch Douluo. Finally, I finally got in. The Sea Witch was so excited her fishtail trembled. She had actually obtained the diary copy long ago, but because the chat group was full before, she could only be a solo player, staring at the diary in frustration. Now it has finally expanded. She couldn't wait to enter her nickname, Daughter of the Great Sea. At the same time, in the dormitory of Tianchui Academy, Shui Binger entered her nickname, Ice Blue Feather. By the training ground of Blazing Academy, the fiery and hot-tempered Huowu entered her nickname, Blazing Rose. And within the most elegant moon pavilion in Heaven Do City, Tang Yuehua, who possessed a noble temperament and managed noble etiquette, also put down the harp in her hand. She looked at the diary copy and, after hesitating for a moment, entered a nickname that wouldn't easily reveal her identity, Elegant Noble Lady. With that, the small group that originally only had a few people suddenly became lively. The messages on the chat interface scrolled rapidly, like a screen flood. 7 treasures little rich girl, wow, newcomers are here, welcome, welcome, scattering flowers still fireworks.jpg. I want to live past 30, finally, more newcomers have joined. Now our group will be lively. Bunny who loves Tonghulu, hee hee, so many new faces. Everyone, post a photo, oh no, reporting your measurements would work too. ... P.S. Seeking recommendation votes, monthly votes, favorites, and follow-up reads tilde. Chapter 151, Beauties gather in the chat group, Tang Yue was surprised and distress. The first one to lose her patience was the one far away on Sea God Island. Daughter of the Great Sea, woo, I'm finally in, this girl was about to burst from holding it back. Daughter of the Great Sea, did you know, I obtained this diary 2 years ago, but every time I applied to join, it prompted that the capacity was full. Daughter of the Great Sea, I could only watch the diary content but couldn't enter the group to chat, it's too cruel. Sea Witch's resentment almost overflowed through the screen, making the girl smile. Compared to Sea Witch's liveliness, the one in the extreme north appeared much colder and prouder. Don't want to become an ice sculpture, is this the so-called chat group? Don't want to become an ice sculpture, what exactly is going on? Who is that human named Lin Yuan? Don't want to become an ice sculpture, I just obtained the diary copy, and I'm still completely confused about everything here. Bing Di's question was just sent when the elegant lady in Moon Pavilion of Heaven Do City couldn't help but speak as well. Elegant lady, excuse me for interrupting everyone. Elegant lady, I also want to ask, is the content written by this Lin Yuan in the diary all true? Elegant lady, does he really have the ability to foresee the future? In reality. On the top floor of Moon Pavilion, in that elegant room filled with the scent of books. Tang Yuehua, wearing a silver palace dress and looking dignified and elegant, was somewhat flusteredly flipping through the diary copy that had appeared out of thin air. Because her spirit power was stuck at rank 9 for life, her mental force was also very weak. Therefore, her speed of reading the diary content appeared exceptionally slow. She watched the group messages while flipping through the diary content Lin Yuan had written over the past 2 years. This. As she read deeper, ripples gradually appeared in Tang Yuehua's eyes, which were originally as calm as water. She saw news about her second brother, Tang Hao, who had been missing for many years. What shocked her even more was, Tang San is actually second brother's son. That youth who was repeatedly mocked and even somewhat disliked by Lin Yuan in the diary is actually my biological nephew. Tang Yuehua had mixed feelings. Although she had never met Tang San, blood is thicker than water, he was her second brother's only flesh and blood. However, from between the lines of the diary, she could clearly feel that Lin Yuan seemed to have deep prejudices against the father and son pair, Tang Hao and Tang San. Tang Yuehua rubbed her brow with some distress. On one side was a mysterious youth who had the ability to foresee the future and could even change the continent's landscape, and on the other side were her closest relatives. However, just as she was in a dilemma, a crisp notification sound suddenly rang in her mind, instantly dispersing all her worries. Ding, congratulations on obtaining the pity reward, spirit power rank +1. Boom. A warm current, though weak, was like nectar to Tang Yuehua, instantly flowing through her whole body. The rank 9 bottleneck that had plagued her for decades like a natural chasm. At this moment, it was broken. 10, rank 10. Tang Yuehua stood up abruptly, her eyes full of surprise. Does this mean I can absorb a spirit ring? Can I cultivate normally from now on? At this moment, Tang Hao, Tang San, everything was temporarily thrown to the back of her mind. After so many years, she thought she had accepted her mediocrity, but now that she could cultivate, she realized she had never truly let go. She was just forced to let go. Even if she wasn't at the optimal age for cultivation, or even quite old. But what did that matter? She was at least born with innate rank 9 spirit power. Even if her cultivation speed slowed down significantly due to her age, reaching the spirit ancestor rank as a baseline shouldn't be a problem, right? Moreover, she had the system. It's just that she didn't understand the system yet and didn't know its great power, so she didn't dare to think too much. To avoid the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. However, after the brief ecstasy, new troubles came. Wait, since I've broken through to rank 10, I need to absorb my first spirit ring to continue advancing. But my spirit. Tang Yuehua summoned the mutated spirit named Noble Ring. This was an extremely rare talent domain type spirit. It had no offensive power. Its only feature was releasing a powerful noble domain, calming people's emotions and purifying their souls. This was also one of the reasons she could become the mistress of Moon Pavilion and teach those noble children. Except for stabilizing emotions, it's useless. With such a spirit, what spirit beast should I hunt for my first spirit ring? In which direction should I develop? Tang Yuehua fell into deep confusion. While she was distressed, someone in the group had already replied to her previous question about the authenticity of the diary. I want to live past 30, an elegant lady, of course it's true, truer than real gold. I want to live past 30, if it weren't for Lin Yuan, the jade phosphorus snake poison on me and my grandfather would still be an unsolvable knot. I want to live past 30, even my grandfather being able to break through to rank 95 now is all thanks to Lin Yuan. Speaking of this, Du Guyan seemed to notice something and sent a confused expression. I want to live past 30, but seeing your nickname is Noble Lady, you shouldn't be young, right? I want to live past 30, your cultivation shouldn't be low either, right? How come you've been in the group for so long and still haven't finished reading the diary? I want to live past 30, if you had finished reading the cause and effect, you wouldn't have asked such an obvious question, right? Although Du Guyan's words were unintentional, they were like a sharp arrow, accurately piercing Tang Yuehua's sore spot. Not young, cultivation not low, not finished reading, every word reminded Tang Yuehua of her awkward age and low strength. If it were her younger self, she probably would have been overwhelmed with shame and anger. But after cultivating her mind in Moon Pavilion for so many years, Tang Yuehua's hard nature had long been tempered to remain unruffled by favor or humiliation. She took a deep breath, quickly adjusted her mindset, and replied elegantly in the group. Elegant lady, sorry for making a fool of myself. Elegant lady, I am indeed a bit older. As for my cultivation, it's really not worth mentioning. My talent is relatively ordinary, so I indeed read a bit slower. Just then, the fiery-tempered Huowu asked a question that all newcomers cared about. Blazing Rose Huowu, I want to ask, do the people in this chat group know each other's identities? Blazing Rose, or does everyone not know who the others are? This question was crucial. If identities were known, then one would have to be careful when speaking. At this time, Ning Rongrong, who loved to stir up trouble, had a mischievous smile on her face. Chapter 152, The Silver Dragon King questions the Supreme Pontiff's strength. She directly tagged 2 heavyweight figures in the group. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, hee, I didn't know at first. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, but some people's nicknames are too obvious or they've already exposed themselves over the past 2 years. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, let me introduce them to you Tilda. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, a Supreme Pontiff username, you should be able to guess from their nicknames, right? 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, of these 2, one is the current Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, and the other is the Supreme Pontiff's personal disciple. As soon as these words were spoken, the humans who had just joined the chat group, like Huowu, Shuibinger, and Tang Yuehua, instantly felt their scalps go numb. Their strength was relatively low, so they joined the group before finishing the diary. The Supreme Pontiff. That BB Dong who rules over all spirit masters in the world and the entire continent. She's actually in this group too. And she might have been lurking and watching them chat all this time. In an instant, a deathly silence fell over the group. They were so scared they didn't dare to speak, fearing that if they had said something wrong earlier, the Supreme Pontiff would hold a grudge. Seeing this scene, Ning Rongrong rolled around on her bed in delight. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, ha ha ha, how's that, scared, aren't you? 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, relax, relax, don't be so nervous. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, let me tell you, you can check the pinned rules of the group. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, within the chat group, there's absolute freedom of speech, speak your mind freely. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, the system has an ironclad rule, no power in the real world can harm a person who possesses a diary copy, or the power they belong to, because of comments made in the chat group. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, to put it simply, no matter how much you curse her in the group, even if you point at her nose and curse. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, in reality, she can only watch helplessly, she can't even lift a finger against you. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, this is our protective talisman. Upon seeing this explanation of the rules, Huowu, Shuibinger, Tang Yuehua, and the other humans finally let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness, thank goodness. As long as there's no danger to their lives, it's all fine. However, while the human spirit masters were still trembling at the Supreme Pontiff's prestige, an extremely discordant line of text appeared in the group. Silver Dragon, oh, the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, how is her strength? Silver Dragon, why are you so afraid of her? As soon as this was said, not only were the newcomers shocked, but even the veterans who had joined the group long ago were stunned. This tone, it was simply arrogant beyond measure. That was BB Dong, a peerless powerhouse with twin spirits. Who was this person? Why did they sound like they didn't care about the Supreme Pontiff at all? The short-tempered Luerlong finally couldn't hold back anymore. Although she hated BB Dong, she was also aware of how terrifying BB Dong's strength was. Irritable Pig Farmer, at Silver Dragon, hey, how can you talk like that? Irritable Pig Farmer, are you even a spirit master? Don't you know how terrifying BB Dong's strength is? Irritable Pig Farmer, although I don't know the specifics, at a conservative estimate, her spirit power is definitely that of a super Douluo above rank 95. Irritable Pig Farmer, and that's just my baseline estimate. Who knows how much benefit BB Dong has gained from the diary copy in the past 2 years? Irritable Pig Farmer, take me for example, I've never won a grand prize from the system, but just from those accumulated baseline rewards, I've already gone from a mid-level Spirit Saint back then to a peak Spirit Saint at rank 79 now. Irritable Pig Farmer, I'm just one step away from being a rank 80 Spirit Douluo. Irritable pig farmer, not to mention BB Dong has received legitimate rewards. The benefits she's gained are definitely far more than mine. She might even be close to rank 99 by now. Luo Long's words were originally intended to make this ignorant newcomer shut up. But who would have thought that Gu Yuina's next question would leave everyone even more bewildered? Silver Dragon, above rank 95, that's it. Silver Dragon, on the Douluo Continent, is this so-called Supreme Pontiff the strongest? Silver Dragon, are there any stronger ones? It was actually very normal for Gu Yuina to have such questions from her perspective. Because while quickly browsing the diary just now, she saw Lin Yuan mention that BB Dong had obtained the Rakshasa God's legacy and was undergoing divine examinations. In Gu Yuina's concept, since she was a god's successor, she should at least be a rank 99 limit Douluo, or even at the demigod level, right? Yet Luo Long said she was only above rank 95. If that wasn't weak, what was? Could someone at this level even obtain a divine examination? Was the threshold for human divinity really that low? However, to the humans, Gu Yuina's honest truth sounded like blatant provocation and contempt. Supreme Pontiff. Sea God spokesperson. Inside the Supreme Pontiff Palace, BB Dong's brow was furrowed. On Sea God Island, both Saishi was also wearing a look of astonishment. They couldn't help but frown, because what Gu Yuina said was very interesting and also very arrogant. On the Douluo Continent, as long as one was a spirit master or had even a little bit of knowledge, who didn't know what the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall represented? While calling her the strongest might be a bit of an exaggeration, after all, there were still Qian Daoliu and Bo Saishi. She was definitely among that small group at the very top of the pyramid. Even a 100,000-year spirit beast would have to think twice when facing a Supreme Pontiff at the Super Douluo level. But this, Silver Dragon, high and mighty tone, as if she were critiquing an ant, was simply too jarring. It was just that BB Dong and these other human spirit masters, limited by their current knowledge, didn't immediately think of Gu Yuina as a co-lord of spirit beasts. Because in their concept, the term vicious beast didn't even exist. In their view, a 100,000-year spirit beast was the absolute limit. Anything beyond that either took human form or died. And while Xiao Wu and Ayan in the group were also 100,000-year spirit beasts, they usually maintained reverence toward title Douluo. So, someone in the group asked tentatively. Daughter of the Great Sea, this, Silver Dragon, from your tone, could it be that you are not from the Douluo Continent? Although they didn't know that there was a Sun-Moon continent on this planet besides the Douluo Continent, if they ruled out the absurd option of the other party as a spirit beast. It seemed the only remaining explanation was that there are other unknown overseas continents in this world, and this person is a peerless powerhouse from there. Facing everyone's doubts, especially the Sea Witch's speculation about coming from another continent. A faint touch of disdain appeared on Gu Yuina's exquisite face. From another continent? Hey, human imagination is always so impoverished and limited. P.S. Happy New Year to all my brothers, may everything go your way tilde. Remember to keep up with the reading when you have time tilde. In addition, the characterization of Gu Yuina here is actually quite different from that in Douluo 3. The reason Gu Yuina was called a love brain and irresponsible to spirit beasts in Douluo 3 was because she started without her memories and was influenced by Tang Wulin, which led to Nar. Here, she is the complete Gu Yuina from before she lost her memories. She might have great wisdom, but as for being a love brain, she definitely isn't one for now, haha tilde. Chapter 153, Silver Dragon King's Identity Exposed. The Sea God is merely a first-class main god. Silver Dragon, a daughter of the Great Sea, your guess is interesting, but completely wrong. Silver Dragon, I am not someone from another continent. Silver Dragon, to be precise, I can barely be considered from the Douluo Continent, except I am not human, but a spirit beast. Silver Dragon, according to your human rank divisions, even a so-called rank 99 Super Douluo could not possibly be my match. Silver Dragon, before me, they are nothing more than slightly stronger ants. The reason Gu Yuina was so candid was that while browsing the diary just now, she had confirmed that there were no true, divine rank powerhouses in this chat group. Since there were no hypocritical fellows from the God realm monitoring them. Then as the company lord of spirit beasts, what did she have to fear? Furthermore, even if there were people from the God realm, restricted by the system rules, those divinities would not be able to take action against her. As soon as these words were spoken, the group fell into a deathly silence. A spirit beast. However, before everyone could finish processing this information, another group member, whose avatar was pitch black and whose nickname carried an air of wickedness, spoke up immediately after. Abyssal Demoness, my lord is right. I am not human either, I am also a spirit beast. Abyssal Demoness, however, according to your human classification of spirit beast cultivation, my strength should be superior to that so-called rank 97 Super Douluo you speak of. Abyssal Demoness, after all, this seed's cultivation is over 200,000 years. 200,000 years. How is that possible? Bunny who loves Douluo, 200,000 years. How is that possible? Bunny who loves Douluo, could it be, you come from that great forbidden land deep within the Stardew Great Forest? Xiao Wu's delicate body trembled slightly. As a soft-bones rabbit who grew up in the Stardew Great Forest, although she lived in the core zone, she had only heard rumors of that legendary forbidden zone within the forbidden zone and never dared to set foot there. Emerald Guardian, based on the contents of Lin Yuan's diary copy, you must be that little rabbit who follows him, right? Emerald Guardian, 100,000-year soft-bones rabbit transformation, your intuition is very sharp. Emerald Guardian, that's right, several of us are vicious beasts from the Great Forbidden Land. Emerald Guardian, and the Silver Dragon, who just spoke is precisely our lord. Emerald Guardian, even if you humans have a Super Douluo, it's impossible for them to be a match for our lord. This is by no means an empty boast. This series of heavy bombshells completely stunned the humans in the group. Vicious beasts of 200,000 years are just subordinates. Then how strong must that, lord, be? Just as everyone was paralyzed with shock. Bo Saishi, who had been lurking, finally couldn't hold back anymore. Spokesperson of the Sea God, at Silver Dragon, what arrogant words. Spokesperson of the Sea God, just who are you? Spokesperson of the Sea God, could your strength truly rival that of a divinity? As one of the three great Super Douluo of the current era and a loyal believer of the Sea God, Bo Saishi would never allow anyone to look down on the level of a Super Douluo like this, much less allow someone to play tricks before her. Gu Yuina looked at this newly emerged nickname, the corners of her mouth curling into a playful arc. Spokesperson of the Sea God. Interesting. From Lin Yuan's diary, she could guess the identities of Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, and the others. But there wasn't much written about this, spokesperson of the sea god, in the diary, so she hadn't matched the name yet. Silver Dragon, sneer.jpg, spokesperson of the sea god. Silver Dragon, what of your strength? Before asking for another's identity, shouldn't you first identify yourself? Spokesperson of the sea god, I am the high priest of Sea God Island, a rank 99 super Douluo, with a demigod body. Spokesperson of the sea god, upon the ocean, when necessary, I can even borrow the divine force of Lord Sea God. Silver Dragon, sea god, that fellow who carries a trident, he is merely a first-class main god. Silver Dragon, even though I am currently heavily injured and my divine force has not recovered, if his true body dared to descend, he would be no match for me. Silver Dragon, let alone that tiny bit of meager divine force you've borrowed. These words could be described as arrogant to the extreme, directly belittling the sea god as worthless. On Sea God Island. Both Saishi watched the chat group, trembling with rage. Her red priest robes billowed without wind, and the surrounding seawater boiled because of her fury. Silver Dragon, you can understand it is me being the master of all spirit beasts, the company lord of spirit beasts. Silver Dragon, and even though I am currently heavily injured, my strength is still above that of a first-class divinity. Silver Dragon, if my injuries were fully healed, my combat power would be roughly at the level of the god realm enforcer mentioned in Lin Yuan's diary, the Asura God King. Silver Dragon, now, do you still think I am boasting? A deathly silence followed. God King. This term might be very unfamiliar to ordinary spirit masters. But for those who had been reading Lin Yuan's diary for over 2 years, it wasn't too foreign. Lin Yuan had once mentioned that god kings like the Asura god were only 5 in number within the god realm. And the company lord of spirit beasts before them actually had a peak strength comparable to a god king. Terrifyingly powerful. Just then, the overlord of the extreme north seemed to think of something. Ice Sky Snow Lady, co-lord of spirit beasts, are you the lord of that beast god DTN from the Stardew Great Forest? Ice Sky Snow Lady, the legendary Silver Dragon King. As the dominator of the extreme north with 700,000 years of cultivation, although Snow Empress had never seen the Silver Dragon King with her own eyes, she had once met DTN, who was known as the beast god. That incredibly arrogant Black Dragon King had once mentioned that he served a lord whose strength was far greater than his own, being the other half of the dragon god's body. The true form was precisely the Silver Dragon King. And wasn't Gu Yuina's group nickname, Silver Dragon, the best supporting evidence? Silver Dragon, oh, the Ice Sky Snow Lady of the extreme north. So it's you. DTN once went to the extreme north and mentioned you to me. Gu Yuina admitted it generously. Don't want to become an ice sculptor, Snow Empress. So you also obtained a diary copy. Don't want to become an ice sculptor. I was actually planning to go find you tomorrow morning to confirm it. Ice Sky Snow Lady, Snow Empress, are you Ice Empress? Don't want to become an ice sculptor. Yes, yes, it's me. Don't want to become an ice sculptor. Snow Empress, this thing is too amazing, and it really gives rewards. At this moment, Ice Empress and Snow Empress directly started a reunion meeting in the group, chatting away. It wasn't that the others didn't want to interject, but rather their brains were currently short-circuiting from the shocking revelations dropped by these spirit beast big shots like Gu Yuina. Chapter 154, Secrets of Spirit Beasts, Several Vicious Beasts. Mainly, this completely subverted common sense. In the understanding of human spirit masters, the lifespan limit of a spirit beast is 100,000 years. After reaching 100,000 years, if they don't choose to transform and cultivate as a human, they only have 1,000 years left to live. After 1,000 years, death is certain. This is an ironclad rule since the beginning of Douluo Continent, a common sense known by all titled Douluo. And now, a group of spirit beasts with over 200,000 years of cultivation, called vicious beasts, suddenly appeared, causing their worldview to instantly collapse. I want to live past 30. At Bunny who loves Douluo, Xiao Wu, you are a transformed spirit beast yourself. I want to live past 30. Let's assume for now that what this Silver Dragon Big Shot said is true. I want to live past 30. Are there really spirit beasts with over 200,000 years of cultivation in this world? Du Guyan couldn't help but be the first to ask. As Du Gubo's granddaughter, she knew quite a bit about spirit beast knowledge, but everything today was simply too far beyond the syllabus. Xiao Wu looked at the question in the group, her face becoming more serious than ever before. She took a deep breath, sent a serious emoji, and then typed. Bunny who loves Douluo. I don't really know the specific details either. After all, I'm only a 100,000-year spirit beast. Bunny who loves Douluo. I only know that inside the core area of the Stardew Great Forest, there is actually another region, which is the Great Forbidden Land. Bunny who loves Douluo. The spirit beasts living there are extremely powerful. My parents called them vicious beasts. Bunny who loves Douluo. I remember once, in order to seek a breakthrough, my father entered the Great Forbidden Land alone. Bunny who loves Douluo. Then, he never came back. Bunny who loves Douluo. He must have encountered irresistible danger or been wiped out by the existences inside. Speaking of this, Xiao Wu's eyes dimmed slightly. But she quickly adjusted her emotions and continued to explain the most crucial, lifespan issue. Bunny who loves Douluo. As for the theory you are familiar with, that, 100,000-year spirit beast must die if it doesn't transform. Bunny who loves Douluo. Actually, it's correct, but also incorrect. Bunny who loves Douluo. First, I need to correct one point. It's actually wrong for you to equate a spirit beast's lifespan with its cultivation. Bunny who loves Douluo. Your saying should be changed to, if a spirit beast with 100,000 years of cultivation doesn't transform, it will die after gaining at most another 1,000 years of cultivation. Bunny who loves Douluo. But in fact, it's not that they will definitely die, but rather that after gaining 8,000 years of cultivation, the spirit beast will face a terrifying trial of heaven and earth. Bunny who loves Douluo. We call it a heavenly tribulation. Bunny who loves Douluo. If they can't cross it, their soul flying away and spirit scattering, truly dying. Bunny who loves Douluo. However, if they pass this heavenly tribulation, their cultivation can break through the bottleneck and head towards 200,000 years. Bunny who loves Douluo. By extension, every 100,000 years, an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation will descend. Bunny who loves Douluo. You have to undergo a tribulation at 200,000 years, and also at 300,000 years. Bunny who loves Douluo. Those vicious beasts who can survive are all monsters who survived under the heavenly tribulation lightning. The reason Xiao Wu knew this so clearly was actually because of her 2 younger brothers, Sky Azure Bull Python Dumming and Titan Giant Ape Ming. Their cultivation had actually exceeded 100,000 years long ago, especially Dumming, whose cultivation was estimated to be around 170,000 years. They had privately discussed the fear of heavenly tribulations with Xiao Wu, but Xiao Wu would never have told others about such things before. But now, since even an existence comparable to a god king like the Silver Dragon King had appeared, there was no longer any need to keep this secret. The human spirit masters in the group stared wide-eyed as they read Xiao Wu's explanation. Bunny who loves Douluo. Since everyone is already in the same group, can everyone reveal their backgrounds? Bunny who loves Douluo. Among the newly joined members, who exactly is a spirit beast and who is a human spirit master? Xiao Wu's question was also what all the old group members wanted to ask. Soon, replies began to pop up continuously on the screen. Elegant lady, I am human. Fiery rose, +1. Ice blue feather, I am also human. These few were very candid and had no intention of hiding. Daughter of the Great Sea, that, I should be considered half human and half spirit beast, right? Thinking.jpg. Daughter of the Great Sea, since you've read Lin Yuan's diary, you should have an impression. Daughter of the Great Sea, I am the Sea Witch Douluo, one of the 7 sacred pillars of Sea God Island that Lin Yuan mentioned before. Daughter of the Great Sea, our mermaid clan is quite special, there are both pure spirit beasts and human spirit masters who have awakened spirits within the clan. Daughter of the Great Sea, this mainly depends on which side the bloodline in the body leans more towards. I belong to the latter, but I also possess a fishtail and affinity for the ocean. Sea Witch's explanation gave everyone a new understanding of the ecology of ocean spirit masters. Those existences from the extreme north and the Stardow Great Forest also revealed their identities one after another. Don't want to become an ice sculpture. This seed is the lord of the extreme north ice plains, the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, with a cultivation of 390,000 years. Ice Sky Snow Lady, dominator of the extreme north, Ice Sky Snow Lady, with a cultivation of 690,000 years. Emerald Guardian, Stardow Great Forest, Emerald Swan, with a cultivation of 570,000 years. Abyssal Demoness, Stardow Great Forest, Hell Demon Dragon King, with a cultivation of 270,000 years. This series of numbers directly shocked all the human spirit masters. 690,000 years. 570,000 years. This is equivalent to human existences at level 98 or 99, right? The spirit beast race actually had so many hidden powerful existences, which made Bibi Dong, Bo Saishi, and even Qian Runshui and the others all frown. Darling of Fate, I am the Emperor Auspicious Beast of the Stardow Great Forest, the three-eyed golden lion. Darling of Fate, as for my current cultivation, it's about 15,000 years. Seeing this number, Bibi Dong, who had been lurking and observing, finally couldn't help but speak. As the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, she was well-read and considered herself to have a deep understanding of spirit beast theoretical knowledge. Supreme Pontiff, at Darling of Fate, 15,000 years. Supreme Pontiff, you only have 15,000 years of cultivation, yet you already possess such high spiritual intelligence. Supreme Pontiff, you can even use this chat group skillfully. Supreme Pontiff, according to the ancient records of my Spirit Hall, most spirit beasts with less than 10,000 years of cultivation only have the instincts for survival and hunting. P.S. Seeking recommendation votes, monthly votes, favorites, and follows tilde. Chapter 155, Auspicious Beast, Three-Eyed Golden Lion. Come back and check it yourself. Supreme Pontiff, and spirit beasts over 10,000 years old have only just begun to develop sentience, possessing only partial wisdom. Supreme Pontiff, to reach a level where they can communicate and think normally, it would at least take 50,000 or even over 100,000 years, right? Supreme Pontiff, are you sure you can understand what we are saying? Bibi Dong's suspicion was not without reason. According to the common knowledge of human spirit masters, although 10,000-year spirit beasts are smart, that is only relative to wild beasts. For an auspicious beast to be able to post comments with a normal IQ in the group was simply unheard of. However, before the auspicious beast could respond, the fiery-tempered ZG directly posted a disdainful emoji in the group. Abyssal Demoness, at Supreme Pontiff, humph, ignorant human. Abyssal Demoness, what you said are all standards for low-level spirit beasts. Abyssal Demoness, just as you human spirit masters must look at spirit quality for cultivation, can a trash spirit be compared to a top-tier spirit? Abyssal Demoness, for a spirit beast, cultivation is naturally worlds apart depending on our different bloodlines. Abyssal Demoness, the auspicious beast's bloodline is incomparably noble. Since her birth, she has possessed extremely high sentience and doesn't need to slowly develop wisdom like ordinary spirit beasts. Abyssal Demoness, moreover, although she currently only has 15,000 years of cultivation. Abyssal Demoness, but in terms of actual combat power and mental force, she is completely equivalent to an ordinary spirit beast with 100,000 years of cultivation. ZG's words immediately left Bibi Dong speechless. 15,000 years equals 100,000 years. Isn't this conversion ratio too terrifying? At this time, the auspicious beast also came out to provide supplementary explanation. Darling of Fate, hee, Sister ZG is right. Darling of Fate, but there's one more thing, I actually only had over 5,000 years of cultivation originally. Darling of Fate, but when I first obtained the diary copy, the system gave me a 10,000 years of cultivation guaranteed reward. Darling of Fate, it was precisely this 10,000 year boost that caused a qualitative change in my strength. Darling of Fate, so my current IQ and logical thinking ability should be equivalent to the level of an adult among you humans. Darling of Fate, there's nothing strange about that, right? Now, everyone understood. To help everyone understand more intuitively, the gentle Baiji also came out to give an example. Emerald Guardian, actually, there are also classes and tribes among us spirit beasts. Emerald Guardian, you human spirit masters should know this. Emerald Guardian, to give the simplest example, the Titan Giant Ape. Emerald Guardian, a Titan Giant Ape with 100 years of cultivation has enough strength to crush a 10,000-year spirit beast with an ordinary bloodline. Emerald Guardian, from this, it can be inferred that a juvenile Titan Giant Ape with several decades of cultivation already possesses partial sentience. Emerald Guardian, if there were elders guarding and teaching it, the time it takes to develop wisdom might be even earlier. Emerald Guardian, and the auspicious beast's bloodline is even nobler than that of the Titan Giant Ape. I really don't swing that way, auspicious beast. Exactly what species of spirit beast is it? I really don't swing that way. Why is its mere 15,000 years of cultivation comparable to a 100,000-year spirit beast? I really don't swing that way. If we draw this analogy, does it already have the ability to transform into a human? Abyssal Demoness, there's no harm in telling you. Abyssal Demoness, the auspicious beast is named the Three-Eyed Golden Lion. Abyssal Demoness, it is the darling of heaven and earth, born from the luck of the Stardow Great Forest. Abyssal Demoness, you can also understand it is the embodiment of the fate of the entire Stardow Great Forest. Abyssal Demoness, with its existence, the cultivation speed of spirit beasts living in the core area of the Stardow Great Forest will double. Abyssal Demoness, even the probability of a breakthrough through the 100,000-year heavenly tribulation will double. Abyssal Demoness, therefore, if any human dares to attack the auspicious beast, or even just harms a single hair on its body. Abyssal Demoness, they will be attacked by all the spirit beasts of the Stardow Great Forest. Abyssal Demoness, even DTN would risk his life for her. Abyssal Demoness, oh right, let me add that DTN is the strongest in the Stardow Great Forest besides the Lord, with 880,000 years of cultivation. Even a super Douluo among you humans who can use divine force would not be his match. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Cultivation speed doubled, probability of undergoing tribulation doubled. And this DTN, is his strength truly that formidable? The bottom of the lake of life in the Stardow Great Forest. Baiji, ZG, and the auspicious beast look at each other. It seems that humans indeed know very little about us, Baiji sighed softly. Then, the eyes of the three were all focused on the auspicious beast. All three of them had received the system's guaranteed reward of 10,000 years of cultivation. For vicious beasts like Baiji and ZG who were hundreds of thousands of years old, 10,000 years was precious but only the icing on the cake. But for the auspicious beast, these 10,000 years directly allowed it to leap from its juvenile stage to its growth stage. Its strength had increased by more than several times. A hint of envy flashed in ZG's eyes. Even though she possessed the bloodline of a pure-blooded true dragon, she had to admit that when she had 15,000 years of cultivation, she definitely did not have the terrifying strength comparable to 100,000 years like the current auspicious beast. Not to mention transformation. When she had 15,000 years of cultivation, she was 100% unable to transform, and other vicious beasts couldn't do it either. As for the auspicious beast, as long as she wants to now, she can attempt to transform at any time. This must be the darling of the Stardow Great Forest. Within the chat group. I really don't swing that way. BB Dong, go to the Spirit Hall's highest secret vault right now. I really don't swing that way. Search carefully to see if there are any ancient records about the auspicious beast. I really don't swing that way. If you really can't find anything, go to the Hall of Worship and ask my grandfather. I really don't swing that way. This matter is very important. Do it immediately. Spirit City, Supreme Pontiff Palace. BB Dong looked at the lines of text on the screen that were like a superior commanding a subordinate, and her expression instantly darkened. She had originally planned to look up information upon hearing about the auspicious beast. However, being ordered around so arrogantly by her own biological daughter. How could the proud Her Majesty the Supreme Pontiff endure this? Bastard. I am your mother, and more importantly, the Supreme Pontiff of the Spirit Hall. What do you take me for? Your subordinate. BB Dong snorted coldly and snapped back directly in the group. Supreme Pontiff, Qian Runshui, have you mistaken something? Supreme Pontiff, what I want to do is my freedom. Supreme Pontiff, it's not your place to order me around. Supreme Pontiff, you want information? Get your ass back here and check it yourself. Chapter 156, the Titan Giant Ape can't even compete with the auspicious beast. In the chat group, the mother and daughter, Qian Runshui and BB Dong, were at each other's throats once again. The veteran members had long since grown accustomed to this tense animosity between them. Unfazed, they didn't even have the interest to try and mediate the